Kunlun mountain range. Hailed as the #1 spirit vein mountain, legend had it that 1,000 years ago, Grand Supreme Jinjuan II meditated at Kunlun and comprehended that most high indifference 3, moving to transforming star of annihilation. He left behind countless legends, and 100 years afterwards, a down-and-out boy on the Kunlun Mountains found the text for the most high indifference. He practiced it for 100 years, and henceforth reached heaven in a single bound. Furthermore, he swept across the Kunlun mountain peaks, establishing what would someday be the Azure Dragon Territory's #1 great sect, the Most High Path. Three Clarities Field was where the spiritual aura of the Kunlun Mountains was most rich. The mountain was 10,000 zhang high, with clouds rolling around, its true spirit abundant. A massive main hall was faintly discernible within the mist, as if it was in a painting, making others see unclearly. The emerald peaks all around stood tall over hundreds of large and small halls and pavilions. Mist and cloud flowed past these pavilions, as if they were in the clouds. If one were to enter the valleys that those emerald peaks surrounded, raise their head to look around, then they would find that immense located below rippled the white clouds. Surprisingly, it was seemingly hovering in midair, a flight of stairs seemingly formed from white clouds, wondrously long. It led to that huge palace that was a minimum of several hundred zhang high off the ground, that was made completely of large blocks of white jade, appearing pure and holy, solemn and dignified. Three Clarities Hall, the Most High Path's main hall. At this moment, the hall doors tightly closed, and the hall had more than 10 cultivators of varying appearances, and of both genders sitting upright upon prayer mats. Some had the countenance of tightly wrinkled brows, some had 2 eyes of fury, and others were calm as water. Each face was different, and if Su Xing were present, he would be greatly startled. Looking at the robes of these cultivators, astonishingly, they came from each of the 10 great sects. Each had profound cultivation, were great cultivators that underwent secluded cultivation, and among them, there was even a cultivator from the royal family. And these great sects that focused every day on seclusion without care for the outside world were at this moment at a gathering of adepts, clearly calculating something. The purple thunder monster was not eliminated. He must be the next demonic head, an endless disaster. The one who spoke wore a blue water robe. He came from the Blooming Water sect and was known as Ancestor Qianli. The Blooming Water Sword sect had 3 great ancestral masters named Bailey, Qianli, and Wanli. Each had refined cultivation, and very rarely revealed themselves. Although it seemed Ancestor Qianli was supercluster middle stage, his powers were extremely profound. Due to his excellent Blooming Water Divine Thunder, there were very few of the same realm that could be his opponent. Lin Chong has signed a contract, and it is by means of Lin Chong's hand that he provokes our sects like this. If we do not do more, the Azure Dragon Territory will be a laughingstock. A green-robed elder said coldly. He was a secluded great cultivator from the Tai Sword sect, and his cultivation was already supercluster late stage. The Tai Sword sect this time had suffered the loss of an ancestral master, and a carefully nurtured star master, making the sword sect from top to bottom unanimously make haste to kill the purple thunder monster. Exactly what Taoist Master Qinglian said. Could it be that our Azure Dragon Territory is being humiliated for amusement by a tiny purple thunder monster? I hear he is but only a galaxy early-stage cultivator, without even a sword chant. A woman wearing a fire-patterned red robe had a bantering tone, but her eyes were cold. Her beautiful hands played with a red lotus fire. She was the Divine Flame Sword Sect's Red Lotus Fairy, with a cultivation that reached the apex of supercluster late stage, with imminent entry into supervoid stage. Because she had face-setting pills, they allowed her to appear very young and pretty. That pair of vermilion eyes was like a burning inferno. The 3 great sword sect ancestral masters of the 4 great sword sects were the very first to issue the argument to kill the purple thunder monster. And how does Headmaster Handan of the Shifting Flower Sword sect see things? The Red Lotus Fairy's eyes mockingly gazed at the woman beside her. Although Handan was once a headmaster, she could compare to these present old monsters that did not care for the things of the world. Her qualifications were short by only a bit, and she immediately reverently agreed. The elders of the Shifting Sword sect have gone to the Vermilion Bird territory to plunder the birth outline, and have not yet returned. However, I will approve in their stead. Who knows whether or not the next victim would be our Shifting Sword sect?" Her words made the others show satisfied smiles. The Shifting Sword sect actually is very thoughtful, running off to the Vermilion Bird territory to plunder the birth outline. Indeed, you have given this much thought. Ancestor Qianli of the Blooming Water Sword sect chuckled coldly. The Shifting Sword sect originated from the Vermilion Bird territory. That place is somewhat more convenient to this sect, and neither does this sect wish to fight over the chests with friends, so as to injuring relations. Handan said, neither servile nor overbearing. Enough talk about this. We had better speak more on the matter of the others shrinking back, when the time for battle came. A man sitting at the head coldly chuckled. His cultivation had unexpectedly reached supervoid early stage, and he spoke particularly forcefully, with each word like thunder. The man's lips were red and his teeth white, his demeanor distinguished and elegant. He wore a purple gold crown and was draped in a clear void most high robe. Those pupils were expressionless and apathetic. He was known as Envious of the East. Envious of the East's ice-cold gaze looked at the lifeless hall's ancestor Longevity, the heavenly ice holy palace's Queen Lady of Ice, and the true immortal's hall's Xianjinzi. His expression seemed to say, if it was not for your cold feet, then how could the purple thunder monster have prevailed? The three were all from great sects, and although their cultivation was somewhat lower, they were not afraid. Ancestor Longevity chuckled. The purple thunder monster had a lifeless pearl, so this school owed him a favor. Naturally, it has been returned. Who could have thought that the purple thunder monster would go confront Extreme Clarity? And who could have thought that Extreme Clarity would die? He indeed had a prehistoric spirit treasure. The Queen Lady of Ice even was disinclined to explain. Then on what positions do the ladies and gentlemen participating in this Alliance of 10 conference stand? Envious of the East dully asked. His tone had a sort of indistinct pressure existing within it. Since the lifeless hall's favor has been returned, next time, we will naturally make haste to kill him. Ancestor Longevity stroked his beard, his tone certain. And this purple thunder monster also is a star master. If we can root him out, that naturally is even better. Xianjinzi nodded and sighed in relief. He did not mind if the purple thunder monster were to die. Right. The Queen Lady of Ice nodded her head. This conduct of the purple thunder monsters that defied the natural order had already provoked everyone's anger, regardless of whether they were thinking of their sects and disciples, or if they were considering the star duels. If he did not die, this purple thunder monster was like a needle stuck inside the flesh, highly uncomfortable. But this purple thunder monster, they say, has ever-changing appearances and is very capable of altering his face. To find him will not be simple. The Red Lotus Fairy brooded. Ladies and gentlemen, have you all forgotten what the next phase is? Envious of the East coldly smiled. When he raised this, the cultivators present showed epiphanic expressions. The evil smiting hall of the Star Duel's third phase would have its curtain raised 1 month after the end of the Purple Star Birth outline. Evil smiting writs would appear in both the Vermilion Bird territory and the Black Turtle territory. Only Star Masters that possessed the Evil Smiting Writ could enter Evil Smiting Hall to collect a Star Beast. If the Purple Thunder Monster dared to even single-handedly fight for the Purple Star Birth outline against the joined forces of multiple great sects, then he definitely would not miss this Evil Smiting Hall. At that time, as long as their sect's people were in either of the 2 territories, then they could surely find the Purple Thunder Monster. Although the Purple Thunder Monster has countless appearances, there is a common characteristic, and that is Lin Chong. Envious of the East coldly laughed. Regardless of how he changes his appearance, this star general cannot. At the time Lin Chong appears, he will no longer be able to escape. Although the Crystal Dragon Palace will not participate in this chase to kill, they have already agreed to refine a secret treasure for me. 10. At that time, it will be impossible for him to escape, haha. But there is a problem. The Black Turtle territory has innumerable devil cults, and the Vermilion Bird territory has different tribes everywhere. Those places are not within our domains. The Queen Lady of Ice opened her mouth. No matter. I will personally go speak with the Black Turtle Territory's #1 devil cult, the Devil Star Palace. In all likelihood, with such a powerful Star Master, even they would be very willing to collaborate with us. And the Vermilion Bird Territory, Headmaster Hondan, we will attack with everything, but as for the other particulars, those will be left to the Shifting Flower Sword Sect. The Shifting Flower Sword Sect originated from the Vermilion Bird Territory, so this will not be problem, will it? Envious of the East was unquestionable. Hondan nodded. Only naturally, but for us to spend so much trouble on killing a single Star Master, would it not anger the Liangshan Maiden? She worriedly asked. The Liangshan Maiden? Fear her my ass. Ancestor Qianli was discontent. If she has the capability, then just slaughter our 10 great sects already. Be at ease, Lin Chong provoked us first. It can be presumed that Liangshan Maiden is a heart clear as a mirror. Envious of the East pensively said. This is fine. Then everyone again deliberated the details, with regards on how to arrange for the Star Master's entrance into the two territories, how they would contact each other, how they would station checkpoints leading to and from the Vermilion Bird Territory, etc. A frightening alliance unprecedented in history that was composed of the first-rate cultivators of the 10 great sects had been born. And at this time, our implicated person was currently immersed in controlling his sword chant. One day after he finished training, Su Xing sat down panting for breath. Su Xing, just what should we do about that Wu Song? Shi Yuan looked at the cool and elegant beauty 100 meters away that had closed her eyes in meditation. Her tone was ill-humored. The thief star's nature had always been carefree and outspoken. Although the incident when Wuxia nearly killed Su Xing several days ago startled everyone, this made the thief star have negative feelings about her. Su Xing grabbed his hair, for he did not know what he should do either. How about you letting Mei go comfort her? Little sister Ingmei certainly did break the harm star's heart. Wu Xinjie mockingly looked at Lin Ingmei. Lin Ingmei's expression was somewhat not too natural. That bold declaration last time was still vividly on her mind. Let alone that Wuxia had not yet recovered from the shock. The other sisters that had been with her were also surprised by the turn events. This was unexpected. What is there to comfort her about? Could it be she still has some thoughts about my woman? Su Xing tyrannically spoke, grabbing Lin Ingmei's arm. Young master. Lin Ingmei somewhat heated up in embarrassment, and the beauty laughed into her sleeve. 12. However, why is Wuxia this unwilling to accept that Ingmei has signed a contract? She refers to herself as your concubine. 13. So could it be she has some black history? Su Xing randomly guessed. Where did young lord hear that, your concubine requires a contract? Has young lord not ever heard of this phrase? Wu Xinjie blinked. What does that mean? Your concubine means that she is unnamed, meaning a young girl that has not yet married, or that she has not yet obtained recognition, or that her current title has not been updated. Yin Yizhen explained. Could it be she wants to receive other people's recognition? The skillful star was also somewhat curious. No. Lin Ingmei shook her head. It is only because Xiao does not want to let other men approach her that she favors referring to herself as your concubine. Everyone suddenly understood. So it turned out that she did not want other men to have any thoughts about her. However, this way of thinking was indeed a novelty. Wuxia abruptly rose. It was unknown whether or not she had sensed they had been chatting about her, but the woman walked this way. Su Xing, are you a man or not? Wuxia coldly said. Su Xing nearly blurted out that old out-of-date line. You'll know if I'm a man or not in bed, but seeing as how Wuxia would probably go berserk hearing that, Su Xing countered with his own question. Wuxia, what do you want to say? If you are a man, then prove to your concubine that you have the qualifications to make Lin Ingmei become your woman. Wuxia's eyes were very sharp, as if they were making one last struggle. Xiao. Hearing Wuxia so nakedly say that she was Su Xing's woman, Lin Ingmei could not help but somewhat blush. If this man cannot do so, then even if your concubine burns both jade and stone, she will fight you to the death. Wuxia said very firmly. Her words contained a courage that made people shiver. Su Xing actually somewhat had increasing admiration for this cool and elegant woman. He playfully smiled. Then what do you feel I should do in order for you to believe I have the qualifications to become Lining Mei's man? Is it to conquer you? Su Xing thought in evil delight. Very simple. Wuxia fixed her eyes on Su Xing. Her eyes had a brilliance that made others awed. She spoke, word by word. Your concubine wants you alone to go obtain the evil smiting writ. Absolutely not. Su Xing had yet to reply when the other beauties rejected. Longblood Stronghold had been reputed as the grounds of the Azure Dragon Territory's bloodiest massacre. For thousands of years, its wide expanse of land had buried the bones of countless heroes, up to the extent that flesh was whole inch of dirt. Red mist like a blaze burned, and in the distant 10 li, a huge fort was faintly discernible. It crawled in the red mist, as if it was a gigantic beast waiting for the right opportunity to move, ready at any time to extend its fangs. The scarlet fog that seemingly sprayed from its mouth formed a kind of unbelievable landscape. Between breaths of stale and fresh air, there was a sort of pungent smell of blood that was taken in. On this day, a man and a woman appeared on a faraway hill. The man's appearance was very ordinary, belonging to that category that you would forget with just one glance. But the woman was the opposite as it turned out. Her figure was slim, bound in a long skirt and a cloak. Black and silver soft armor protected her body, and there was a long sword worn at her waist as well as divine moon phoenix shoes adorned the pilgrim's feet. Her silky long hair fluttered slowly in the breeze, thin strands of long silk. At a glance, it seemed to be floating in a stream of wind. The girl's complexion was also absolutely beautiful, her pupils cold and breathtaking. Clogged town building burned in fog. The man opened his mouth and exclaimed, "What Xinjia said was right. This blood mist indeed is unbelievable. As expected, it burns like fire, and a personal look is even more stunning." The woman declined to respond to his outburst. She adjusted her collar and pursed her lips, but she said not a word. "It's a pity I couldn't bring them along." The man said regretfully, "Do you regret it?" The woman finally spoke, her tone like a resonating flute in the wind. "Isn't it nothing more than gathering a few devil smiting writs? What could be so hard about that? Could it be you who is regretting this? Specially accompanying me on this trip, ha?" The man spoke to the last somewhat with ridicule. This man and woman, without a doubt, was Su Xing and Wuxia gazing at the cold as ice and frost beauty beside him. Su Xing's thoughts could not help but return to a few days before. To that bet he made some days ago. "Your servant wants you alone to go obtain the evil smiting writ." "Absolutely not." Su Xing had yet to reply, when the other beauties rejected. "Wu Song, do not take a mile when we give an inch. Su Xing has been continuously patient with you only because he saw you and Ingmei are like sisters. Do not intolerably bully him. We act as Big Brother's star generals, how could we let Big Brother leave alone?" "Slave servant will not agree." All the girls initiated a scolding against Wuxia. Su Xing did not feel that flustered. On the contrary, he was currently pensive. Her looked at Wu Xinjia, and the latter was somewhat not completely fathomable. In actuality, Wu Xiao's wording did not necessarily strike upon Su Xing's compassion, and the reason was very simple. After the Purple Star Birth Outlines battle concluded, he was considered to have offended half of the major powers in the Azure Dragon territory. He could use his toe and still imagine that they must be in secret meetings to encircle, chase, obstruct and intercept him. From the strength he currently displayed, this series of tactics perhaps would not give the disciples a chance, but those ancestral monsters in secluded cultivation would certainly be attracted. After he obtained the miraculous Bodhi tree and the heaven-tearing sword, Su Xing was actually fearless. Even if he had no way to win, did he need to fear not being able to escape when he had the protection of the Purple Star Jade pendant? However, Su Xing did not want to provoke too much trouble from the evil smiting hall's special nature. For this reason, he had already planned to take care of that evil smiting writ by himself. And now it seemed Lin Yingmei and Yan Yizhen still required several months of care to recover to perfect condition. Not at all suitable for battle. "Wuxia, you indeed are a bit unfair," Wu Xinjia said at this time. She had recalled a heavy point, and her eyes turned. "Young lord is but a star master. Since ancient times, when has a star master not have had a star general follow as closely as a shadow? Then what do you think is a bit fairer? Wuxia heard what the knowledge star's words indicated. Wu Xinjie covered her mouth and giggled. This is simple. Since Wuxia wants to verify young lord's character, why not accompany young lord for the journey together? On one hand, you can understand more deeply the man little sister has lifelong trust for, and on the other, little sister Wuxia's close as skin protection can letting Mei relax. Everyone stared blankly. Ah, let Wu Song? Sister Xinjie, what are you saying? Shi Yuan shouted. Wuxia's brows slightly wrinkled. She had a slightly meaningful smile. Worthy of the resourceful star. All along you wanted your servant to protect him, that you would speak in such a pleasant manner. How could your servant possibly refuse? You and I will go together? Su Xing felt his teeth hurt. Although your servant cares not if you live or die, since this was a request your servant raised, what harm is there in going together with you? Your servant also wishes to experience just what capabilities could make someone devote herself to you. Wuxia's tone seemingly was somewhat unresigned. The other girls looked at each other in dismay, unable to find grounds to question the validity of this plan. Wu Xinjie knew that Wuxia would reply like this, and she was not at all surprised. However, since this is a bet, this long with each other needs to be a tad fairer. If young lord is able to obtain the evil smiting writ alone, then Wuxia, what will you pay? Wu Xinjie's tone sunk, brimming with strictness. You want to make your servant pay something? Wuxia calmly said. Signing a contract looked to be not too possible, so Wu Xinjie said, how about you help us recover our star beasts? Sure. Wuxia instantly reacted. Slave servant cannot allow master to take risks alone. Yan Yizhen firmly said. Little E, could it be you still cannot be at ease? If those several demon smiting writs can't be done, then what more of the star duels is there to talk about? Su Xing shook his head, comforting her with a gentle tone. Self-cultivate yourselves for the time being. 3 months should be enough. If something really does happen, I will use the jade pendant. But, little sisters believe in young lord. Going to help young lord as we are now is contrarily somewhat not good to sort out. Wu Xinjie had no alternative. In addition, believe that little sister Xia will properly protect Yingmei's husband. 2. The knowledge star secretly smiled. Wu Xiao's bet held nearly no disadvantages for Su Xing whatsoever. The evil smiting writ originally was not hard to collect, so even one person alone was not a problem. Furthermore, even if it really was obtained, what could Wuxia do? She generally could not truly believe she would be able to persuade Lin Yingmei. At that time, the evil smiting hall would be extremely dangerous, and he still needed to protect a too feeble to stand in the wind little whirlwind Chai Ling. If he had the Harm Star Pilgrim's help, at that time, it would be inevitably easy. All the girls naturally were bright, and had also thought of the benefits of the situation. But to think of letting Su Xing face danger alone, it was hard for them to avoid being somewhat anxious. In the end, under Su Xing's comforting did they helplessly compromise. The smell here somewhat reeks of blood. Wuxia abruptly said. Su Xing returned to attention from his thinking. He sniffed with his nose, and there was a faint stench of blood. This is Longblood Stronghold, so it's very normal. Sai Xing said. Longblood Stronghold defended the entrance to the Vermilion Bird Territory's 10,000 Devils Mountain and Longblood Canyon. In addition, this 10,000 Devils Mountain and Longblood Canyon were both bloody places. There was close quarters fighting throughout the entire year, so an overly heavy ominous air was not strange. You really can choose locations. Wuxia seemed to not be very fond of places like this. Su Xing shrugged. Only the Black Turtle Territory and Vermilion Bird Territory have the evil smiting writ, and of the several entryways into the Vermilion Bird Territory, only this Longblood Stronghold is the easiest. Before Su Xing came, he had already made his calculations. The Vermilion Bird and Azure Dragon territories shared a border with numerous mountain ranges, but if some were not dangerously layered, they were high beyond reach. Others were completely surrounded in dense fog, unable to be exited from. The sole checkpoint leading to the Vermilion Bird territory needed worry about the custody of the other sex, So this way, the Longblood stronghold was the optimal choice. One had a murderous aura too heavy. The Great Liang every day was recruiting cultivators and ordinary soldiers to resist the 100 devils, and many cultivators filled with feelings of justice often would go on journeys, storming this 10,000 devils mountain. Even if this place had great sect cultivators, it was unworthy of worry. Cultivators that came to Longblood stronghold were of many numbers, so finding him would not be that simple. Of course, the most important point was that Longblood Canyon acted as a passage quite a number of cultivators opened up, where one could directly enter the center of a city in the Vermilion Bird territory. As everyone knew, the Vermilion Bird territory was a famous phoenix and owl in the same nest. Different clans were everywhere, with many varied mountain ranges, and its environment was incomparably dangerous. A little inattentiveness, and one could fall into an odd place and lose their life. To have a vantage point was greatly convenient regardless of how it was put. Let us go, those great sects seem unable to find you. Wuxia gazed into the distance, unable to see through the bloody mist. You thought of that? Su Xing was stunned, somewhat surprised as he spoke. Wuxia, you didn't deliberately make that bet with me because you were thinking of Yingmei, right? Carefully thinking, Wuxia ought to have known Su Xing's current situation. Lin Chong and the Purple Thunder Monster had been reputed as a great public hazard to the Azure Dragon territory. If Lin Yingmei were to rashly show herself at this moment, on the basis of the state that Yingmei and the rest had yet to recover, that definitely would bring about a drowning calamity. Thinking about it was true. The evil smiting writ was very easy to collect, so even an earthly star general could do it without difficulty. For the current Su Xing, words were even more unnecessary. Su Xing suddenly smiled bitterly. Could it be said Xinjia's calculations already were within your own? To let Yingmei heal her wounds, she accompanied him to go obtain the evil smiting writ, and by means of the bet, she helped Lin Yingmei obtain her star beast. Given Wuxia and Lin Yingmei's relationship, it was not hard to deduce it was because of this. The corner of Wuxia's mouth slightly curved. She did not reply, but it could be seen that Su Xing's expectations were verified. Wuxia, you actually gave a lot of thought to this. Su Xing smiled. Lin Yingmei and Wuxia's tempers sure enough were opposite in some aspects. 3. Since Yingmei has chosen you, your servant naturally will honor her. But Su Xing, you had best not make your servant disappointed. Wuxia icily said that, and then her cool and elegant back very quickly disappeared into the bloody mist. Seeing as how you are so intertwined, wouldn't it be better for us to sign a contract? Su Xing chuckled. Streaks of cold light in the bloody mist sliced the fog open, wiping past Su Xing's cheeks. As expected of the tiger fighting Wusong fierce. Su Xing thought. Longblood Stronghold was an extremely large fortress city. The stronghold was just like an immense ring, divided into multiple barriers. The city walls were arranged with every sort of magic circle and mechanism. Each partition of the city walls had some small towns. It could even be said to be spectacular, and the centermost large city in the stronghold, Bloodknife City, supported both heaven and earth. Su Xing and Wuxia did not use riding sword flight. Using flight in the vicinity of the stronghold was an easy way to be regarded as a target and shot down. This would be unrecoverable, so all cultivators would voluntarily land when nearing the fort. That's Su Xing suddenly turned his gaze to the sky and froze. What? Wuxia raised her eyebrows. Nothing. Just now, it seems I saw a dragon in the clouds. Gongsun Sheng fly directly by. Su Xing blinked. Is that so? Wuxia did not feel this was a surprise at all. If star generals wanted to have a star beast, they would need to have an evil smiting writ. It was inevitable that dragon in the clouds Gongsun Sheng would go to the Vermilion Bird territory to find a evil smiting writ. If we can run into her, then I must thank her. Su Xing nodded and smiled. After entering Longblood Stronghold, the blood mist faded by a great degree. There were cultivators and soldiers patrolling everywhere inside the fort. Countless secret gazes stared at any visitors, and Su Xing and Wuxia received attention the moment they entered. Su Xing's galaxy early-stage cultivation could not count as astonishing, but in this place, it was considered top quality. Star generals could disguise their star energy, so Wuxia appeared to be galaxy late stage. Because Longblood Canyon brimmed with a murderous aura at every step, Su Xing was not in any rush at all to enter. After passing by 3 layers of city walls, they arrived at the stronghold's center area within Blood Knife City. There was an aesthetically pleasing and crowded bazaar, and the majority of people had fluctuating presences and circulating star energies. Because Longblood Canyon led directly to the Vermilion Bird territory, it was for this reason that Longblood Stronghold often had cultivators assemble. Unwittingly, it had developed into a base for cultivators. Let's first ask around to gather intelligence, see how many sects are here. Afterwards, we go find a queue to enter Longblood Canyon. What do you say? Su Xing asked. Wuxia grunted, a do-the-work-yourself manner. Su Xing strolled a circle inside the city, before finally climbing to the Xuanyang restaurant's 3rd floor. When he and Wuxia appeared, there was bound to be many of those sorts of amazed expressions. However, these people could only swallow down their saliva when they saw the two's cultivations, for they were very aware of the gazes they received. Su Xing found a windowside seat, sat down and ordered several bottles of fine wine. From this position he could see the towering city walls and the entrance to Longblood Canyon. A little farther, and there was somewhat of a dense, blood-red color. As Su Xing drank wine, his vision was like an accurate electronic measuring device that sized up everything about Longblood Canyon's exterior. The arrangements of all the personnel, the numbers of cultivators, and their cultivations were all placed into his gaze one after the other. Seeing him enter concentration, Wuxia did not disturb him. Without asking him for permission, she poured herself some wine, and drank until her lips and teeth permeated with the fragrance of alcohol. A moment later, Su Xing put away his gaze and pensively nodded. Interesting, this place is being monitored by the other sects as expected. Then are you preparing to give up this path? Wuxia nonchalantly asked. Entering a bit later is fine. Su Xing paused. He asked, Wuxia, can I ask you a question? And Wuxia's brows slightly wrinkled. How do you view these star duels? Your servant herding may say that you do not intentionally erase other enemies at all? Wuxia pensively said. However, sooner or later, you will do so. There are some matters that you cannot avoid, regardless of what you believe. Su Xing laughed. As the two chatted, the sound of cheers suddenly echoed inside the shop. Taoist Ho. What story should you tell us this time? We have waited very long for you. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Quickly give us a chat about the matter of the Blood Shadow Elder Devil. 3. Everyone that was originally carefreely drinking wine each shouted in excitement. The loudness of the noise made each of the guards face a powerful foe. Su Xing and Wuxia could not help but curiously look over. They saw a pointy-mouthed, monkey-cheeked old man wearing a thin mustache slowly sway as he walked onto a platform. His popularity in Longblood Stronghold was not bad, and let alone cultivators appearing on scene. A few soldiers and high-ranking officers also shouted. Only when Su Xing asked did he realize that this old Taoist was named Taoist Ho, who specialized in storytelling. His words were eloquent, his tongue a splitting water lily, a deluge of heavenly flowers. Despite this elder Taoist being only Stardust late stage, he was extremely good at inquiring through the grapevine. He somewhat heard of each major secret in the 800 li of the Longblood Stronghold, and the 10,000 li of Gun Province. 6. Although the validity was unknown, he spoke clearly and logically, making the truth hard to distinguish from the rumors. With the Azure Dragon territory so vast and communications so undeveloped, this Taoist host's stories became an absolute in Longblood Stronghold. On one hand, listening was pleasant, and on the other, the circumstances could more or less be understood. Last time, I told that the Blood Shadow Elder Devil unified 100 Devil Mountain's 10 great demon kings, and led millions of different clans of demonic soldiers. They assaulted Longblood Stronghold, and at that time, the rivers truly ran with blood and corpses littered the fields. The entire Longblood fortress blood chi rushed into the skies, able to be smelled from 1,000 li away. The Great Liang dynasty's millions of elite troops and countless hundreds of thousands of cultivators were no match. Only the all-out assault of the Emperor Liang's chief royal cultivator, the 9 dragons' heavenly master, 7 stationed at the fort, finally delayed them long enough for the alliance of each of the great sects to arrive, dissolving the crisis. This bloody war could be said to be seen once every 100 years. The Supervoid Stage 9 Dragon's heavenly master not only fell, but that purple star-grade astral treasure, the 9 Dragons' Cauldron, 8, also went missing, causing worried sighs and gasps. Furthermore, the 100 Devils Mountain's losses were also disastrous. The Blood Shadow Elder Devil even more had been struck into a heavily wounded state, relying on the Blood Fiend Spectre escape, 9 to flee a calamity of his own. Threatening to pay back his blood enemy in 10 years. The Taoist host's speech was excited. Now the 10-year deadline has already come and gone. It seems that whence the Blood Shadow Elder Devil died is unknown. Although sometimes the 100 Devils Mountain still has some demonkin continuously attack Long Blood, they no longer have the bravery and ferocity of those days. The location of that 9 Dragons' Cauldron is unknown? A big man curiously asked. Right, that is but a purple star-grade astral treasure. Another female cultivator also nodded in agreement. From any perspective, a purple star-grade astral treasure was even more likely than a prehistoric spirit treasure was to make people yearn for it. Although the 2 types of magic weapons could be used by cultivators, the former was much more easily used than the spirit treasure. Prehistoric spirit treasures often shook the skies and moved the earth when they appeared, but without shocking magic energy to support it, it was simply hard to display an effect. Legend has it that it has fallen into the Vermilion Bird territory. Each of the great sects have searched, but they always are unable to locate its whereabouts. The Taoist Ho evilly smiled. If a star general obtained this astral treasure, even an earthly star could defeat a heavenly star. Speaking of the fiend stars, Taoist Ho, I wonder if you know about the purple thunder monster? Su Xing had been slowly listening and suddenly heard someone say this. Su Xing curiously glanced over. It was a white-clothed youth with a fair appearance. At first glance, he was somewhat more beautiful than a woman. On his person, Su Xing sensed a sort of indescribable star energy. The purple thunder monster, ha! Ha ha, that truly is a star master seen once in a millennium. Taoist Ho made a display of mystery. Everyone impatiently urged him on. The Taoist Ho rapped the table to silence them. Su Xing snickered when this man put on airs, and then he heard Taoist Ho say, They say that the one who has contracted the majestic star panther head is an ill omen everywhere and very mighty. In the purple star birth outline, he alone stayed behind to confront the 10 great sects as well as more than 10 star masters. Not only did he obtain this birth treasure outline, he escaped unscathed reportedly. Each of the great sect's top-notch secluded cultivators have already issued a chase to kill. Just what is the background of this purple thunder monster? He has practically offended all of the powers in the Azure Dragon territory. His background must be very great. It cannot be said for certain that he is that terrifying star master of the Devil Star Palace. That holy lord of draconic demon that defeated Xie Zhenyuan? Although the holy lord of draconic demon is powerful, he is the heavenly underworld sect's star master. The Devil Star Palace is but the Black Turtle Territory's #1 Great Devil Palace. This heavenly underworld sect receives reverence and respect, but how can it compare? Legend says that Devil Star Palace's master is known as the Great Saint Star Killer. 10 quite outstanding. This generation of star duels truly is a suddenly changing and unstable situation. And the Black Turtle Territory surprisingly has such a frightening monster. TSK. Our Azure Dragon Territory's Xie Zhenyuan indeed is rubbish. I hear his star general is very incompetent as well. I see that the Azure Dragon Territory still has a chance with Princess Ling Yan and Yan Wudao. The Vermilion Bird Territory's Lady Snake Scorpion, 11, is reportedly also a formidable character. Though her cultivation is not high, she has captured 2 great supercluster stage demon kings. I think that will not do. It is said that what the Great Saint Starkiller practices is a transforming star of annihilation, grade supreme grade devil force. TSK, this is a genuine monster. When Su Xing heard this, he could not help but be shocked. Transforming stars of annihilation were legends in Liangshan. Cultivation methods of this grade had appeared only once before in the Crystal Dragon Palace's treasure feast. News in this checkpoint adjacent to the border of two territories developed much faster than in country, as expected. All the cultivators present traveled extensively, and they had often moved about in the Vermilion Bird territory and Black Turtle territory. Su Xing also heard a lot of useful information. Su Xing had encountered the Holy Lord of Draconic Demon once before. Indeed, he was as tyrannical as the rumors said, but that Great Saint Starkiller and Lady Snake Scorpion were somewhat unfamiliar. However, it seemed these two were distinguished as the strongest star masters of the Black Turtle and Vermilion Bird territories. In addition, they were strong to that sort of abnormal level. In the Azure Dragon territory, Su Xing using Nebula Stage to kill a Galaxy Middle Stage cultivator had always been amazing, but hearing that Lady Snake Scorpion had already killed Supervoid rank cultivators, if she did not possess some incredible magic weapon, then she was actually somewhat unfathomable. However, the so-called Bagua mostly was categorized as something that became more exaggerated the more it was disseminated, such that it was unknown how much its power was overstated. Everyone erupted into discussion. When the Taoist Ho saw he had been somewhat neglected, he cleared his throat and shouted, "This old Taoist has another story to give everyone a listen today." "What? Haha." Seeing that all eyes had been attracted to him, Taoist Ho chuckled. He brushed his thin mustache and said, "The harm star Wusong has successfully obtained her star beast this time." This was already known. It seems she even eliminated a sect, something called the Sun whatever. The Nine Suns sect. Right, that one. The harm star is worthy of being the last generation's hegemon. How awesome. But what this Taoist reports is not this at all. They say that Wu Song took the white and black unicorn to go plunder the purple star birth outline this time, and had been locked onto by the extreme clarity elder immortal. Taoist Ho looked around his surroundings. Pleased with himself, he said, "Wu Song and Lin Chong's master joined hands to eliminate the extreme clarity elder immortal, stealing his spirit treasure." Everyone laughed, showing they had already known this. "But you do not know what happened afterwards, do you?" Elder Taoist Ho rubbed his nose, flaunting the climax. "What was there afterwards?" that handsome youth asked. Wu Song also signed a contract with this purple thunder monster. Su Xing went pfff, spraying out his drink, and Wu Xio wrinkled her brow. Su Xing whispered his apologies. He stared in amazement at that elder Taoist Ho. For the elder Taoist Ho's words stirred everyone into an uproar, turned them pale. Wu Song has also contracted. Of course. Lin Chong and Wu Song have always had a very good relationship, and with the purple thunder monster this overbearing, what is strange about them signing a contract? Elder Taoist Ho said, "I do not believe you. How could the previous generation's overlord possibly sign a contract? Lin Chong has signed. What is so odd about Wu Song signing one?" Everyone again began debating, and each issued their own experience. The more they spoke, the more irregular they were. Just as Su Xing was about to look at how Wu Xio reacted, at this time he found the girl had already left her seat and walked to the front of a slab of jade. Her whole body was rigid, as if she had been mesmerized by something. When Su Xing saw Wu Xio apparently was somewhat intrigued, he curiously walked over. "What is it?" Following Wu Xio's cool and elegant pupils, Su Xing saw there was a qijue on the jade board. However, when he saw the content of that qijue, Su Xing could not help but be shaken. "This is," he saw written upon it thus. "I ask myself, the Emperor of Spite often thinking of sisters once so close he someday visits the sky supporting mountain certain to destroy that 1,000-year joke." I ask myself, the Emperor of Spite often thinking of sisters once so close he someday visits the sky supporting mountain certain to destroy that 1,000-year joke. These words were written very vividly and powerfully, appearing like the flower hairpin of a beautiful woman. This seemed to be penned by the style of a well-bred young lady. This sky-supporting mountain must be referring to Maiden Mountain? Certain to destroy that 1,000-year joke. Su Xing felt that the woman who wrote this was actually quite aggressive. Could it be that this 1,000-year joke referred to the nearly 1,000 years of star duels? The signature below was song, making others unable to help but think of a certain person. 2. Wuxia's eyes slightly squinted, fixing her eyes silently on this Qijue. Dear guests, this jade steel is specialized in verse. For only a liang of gold. Do dear guests want to leave behind an eternal good name? A waiter walked forward and laughed. Who wrote this? Wuxia expressionlessly asked. Oh, this was written by a young lady. The waiter said. This happened half a year ago already. What did she look like? Su Xing also asked. The waiter showed an odd expression. Beautiful. Truly beautiful, as if she had walked out of a painting. Right at that time, there was also an elegant young lord that inscribed a verse because of this. He pointed below. Written upon it. 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors seek Wei Yang. Here of women gracefully compete against snow. Their brows like misty green mountain scenes. Restrained tender whispers aromatically fill the courtyard. Heave deep sighs into the night sky. The beauty's flowery partition in the clouds. Wish for descended reincarnation 3,000 times. Only for the sake of a beauty's fragrance. 3 signed Lutinia. Su Xing thought, fuck, this Lutinia is a talented scholar. It seemed that girl was truly boundlessly charming. The so-called Weiyang was also called Weiyang Palace. 5. In the myths of Liangshan's palaces, legend had it that when Xiannu fell into the mundane world, she resided in this palace. To compare her with fallen dignitaries showed indeed that nothing more could be said. Who else has seen the poem upon this? Wuxia inquired, brimming with a rare curiosity. Probably 4 or 5. The most recent was a month ago when an exquisite and graceful 6 girl took a look. She seemed to have also said something about it being interesting. The waiter respectfully answered. Exquisite and graceful. Wuxia mumbled to herself. She also inscribed a verse. Vanity and star energy become singular. Arrogance disallows injury to pride, like subdued dragons in shallow waters, dripping blood looking into the blue sky. Misfortune gathers in opposite of righteousness. Timely rains sow the kernels of fear. What time seemingly records passions of then. Liangshan little sisters are as before. Signed Hua. This jade steel was a well-known scene at Xuanyang restaurant. When the blood shadow elder devil originally fought, Emperor Liang gazed at the boundless blood and wrote, destroy soldiers and split armor and kill with bloodthirst. A picture of the landscape of 10,000 li of slaughter. From then on, many somewhat refined cultivators, regardless of whether or not they had the talent or ability, were willing to leave behind a few words. This jade steel was carved with star energy, and star cultivators with insufficient force often could not stay for long. Su Xing glanced at the inscriptions of that girl named Song and Lu Tianya. The former was flexible and graceful, yet did not lose the air of a phoenix dancing through the 9th heaven. That Lu Tianya also carved very beautifully. That Hua's inscription had her intent permeate the steel. Her skill deep and resounding, vaguely with a tyrannical conceit. This was the so-called seeing words that were like the person, where 3 types of entirely different personalities appeared vividly before them. Do you want to write one? Su Xing said when he saw her this curious. Wuxia twitched her mouth. Though appeared uninterested, she returned the invitation. Since you can have little Yi's services, you should have some talent. It would be better for you to inscribe one. A limerick should do. Su Xing chuckled. Oh, Wuxia revealed a trace of interest. All right, since the beauty bears passion, then your servant presents his inadequacy. Su Xing really had some ideas. However, though he flaunted himself, he knew how serious the situation was right now. Originally, he wanted to write a few phrases. The whole city will be clothed in golden armor. 8. This land so rich in beauty has made countless heroes bow in homage. 9. These sorts of aggressive and awe-inspiring verses that would make Wuxia have a new level of respect for him. Thinking about it, it was better to forget about it. Stolen talent always gave rise to a somewhat guilty conscience. 10. Looking at that far-off mountain in red mist, then looking back at Song's Qijue, he had inspiration. He turned over a liang of gold, and condensing a bit of star energy onto his finger, he began carving. Although it was not as magnificent as the others, but for a first work, it was just right. What Su Xing wrote was also very short, a measly 20 characters. Blood mist has 3,000. breaking the world's fated marriage. When I suddenly turn around, a dream buries a millennium. Wuxia slowly read. Her tone had an indescribable softness. This young lord is thorough, an honest match made in heaven with that certain to destroy that 1,000-year joke. The waiter praised. The corner of Wuxia's mouth curved, showing a very shallow smile. You actually quite understand her. How poetic, how wet. 11. A voice suddenly praised. Su Xing saw that white-clothed handsome youth had already approached. Seeing Su Xing's literary ability, he added more praise. This fellow used few brushstrokes, yet set an extraordinary tone. When I suddenly turn around, a dream buries a millennium, truly says it all about long blood strongholds' bitter struggles. Fellow, this is undeserved praise. Such bare praise made Su Xing feel a bit embarrassed. Your servant is Fang Xianggu. 12. Brother Su Xing is not only poetic, his skill also makes your servant thus admire. Fang Xianggu was like those people that acted as if he were an old friend even though they had only met. Having only seen Su Xing write, he already started to call themselves brothers. I wonder what fellow's wife is called. Fang Xianggu made Su Xing amused. He unexpectedly thought that Wuxia was Su Xing's wife, and this could not be blamed on his misunderstanding. A man and woman coming together to a border region without adorning a sex robes. That result naturally had to be a husband and wife or such. In addition, at first glance, their relationship was somewhat close, so it was hard to avoid stirring the imagination of others. Although no matter how they looked, Wuxia's cool elegance and that ordinary appearance of Su Xing after a smile was a flower stuck who knows where. Wuxia wrinkled her brow, disdaining to explain. My wife is Xio. Su Xing thought for a moment. Using this identity was just enough to be able to conceal the attention of those sections. Do you have some business? Wuxia somewhat slowly interrupted. Fang Xinggu said. You two must be going to the Vermilion Bird Territory? Your servant is currently seeking fellows traveling to the Vermilion Bird Territory. We can look after each other in a party. I wonder if you two are willing? The Vermilion Bird Territory's geniuses were too many to count. The Azure Dragon Territory's cultivators often would go to the Vermilion Bird Territory to test themselves, especially for the Scattered Star cultivators, who felt strongly about this place. However, the Vermilion Bird's tribes were dangerous. Setting out on a journey alone would very easily make them targets, so most cultivators would form groups to go on the road. Su Xing had also thought of finding a party to blend in with in order to fool people, so as to avoid arousing the attention of the other great sects. Pondering over and over, he prudently asked, I wonder what sort of people are in the group? They are Scattered Star cultivators much like Brother Su Xing. Besides going to the Vermilion Bird Territory to seek out a few geniuses, they also wished to find some of the clans from 100 Devil's Mountain. The stronghold always offered bounties, and a tribesman could be exchanged for a pill and 100 liang of gold. A general could be exchanged for a top-notch artifact, and a demi-king, you can be offered an imperial throne 13 by Emperor Liang. Fan Xianggu slightly laughed. Although these rewards held no appeal to Su Xing, as far as Scattered Star cultivators were concerned, these were rather enticing, particularly for 100 Devil's Mountain tribesmen. To kill one would probably be like pinching an ant to death. And as for the imperial throne, that was the Great Liang's offering to a high-ranking character. They could not do without gold, pills, artifacts and magic weapons. However, that demi-king was a mountain's overlord. Their abilities were very powerful, and to be able to kill something the grade of a demi-king, perhaps wealth would be snubbed at. At most, that imperial throne was not bad. Su Xing remembered details of Emperor Liang's thrones that Wuxia discussed. This Great Liang dynasty's imperial throne star cultivators numbered more than 100. Then good. Su Xing nodded. Then meet at the stronghold's eastern gate tonight. Fang Xianggu smiled. To be able to bring Su Xing's husband and wife, fake, galaxy stage cultivation into the group, that was even more safe. A resounding bugle broke the restaurant's atmosphere, cutting the mood apart raw. Everyone froze, crowding one after another towards the windowsill, looking into the distance. On the plains outside of Longblood Canyon, the blood mist dispersed, and a group of strange people clad in iron armor and hefting broadswords and axes walked out. Their foreheads had long and black demon horns, and their eyes were seemingly like copper bells. They sucked blood in their mouths, something extremely terrifying. It is the evil spirit clan of the 100 Devils Mountains Evil Spirit Mountain Range. That damn tribe. Everyone was astonished when they saw this. These people raised the heads of several cultivators, men and women. The leading male shouted, "Great King Devil Mask 14 has spoken." It was the Great King who opened this road, the Great King who planted this tree. And if the Azure Dragon Territory's cultivators wish to pass through this gate, use your lives to buy it. The evil spirit clansmen threw the heads in their hands. Their strength was greatly shocking, for these seemingly slack heads that were like boulders suddenly showed malicious expressions, rushing towards the walls of the stronghold. Several guarding soldiers were bit apart by the heads the moment they touched. This was the evil spirit clan's fiend magic. Head curse, the evil spirit clan laughed aloud. More than a dozen heads filled the sky, biting whatever they saw. The stronghold's bows and arrows and magics simply could not stop them. All the cultivators had seemingly been baffled, each attacking with riding swords. Just at this time, a sudden burst of flame shot out. This flame was extremely gorgeous, like a lotus flower ignited to the limit. Several dozen heads were burned cleanly away in the blink of an eye, and those evil spirit cultivators wanted to run when they saw this. Red lotus flames blossomed in their surroundings, burning away the red mist. The evil spirit cultivators screamed, "Red Lotus Karma Fire!" 16. It is the Red Lotus Fairy. The cultivators shouted in shock, filled with reverence. Flames suddenly condensed and dispersed. A woman beautiful as a goddess seemingly descended into the world, as if washed by the flames. Her cloud bun was lofty, inclined against her head. Her body was draped in red muslin, and those fingers were white as peeled scallions. Her red lips were full, the pace of her slender legs delicate. She was incomparably exquisite in this world, but what made Su Xing feel shocked was that this woman stepped barefoot onto the red lotuses. The petals of those lotus flowers burned with the color of flames, extraordinary to the extreme. The tiny evil spirits dared to be impudent. This red lotus fairy's voice was like something refined. Those two red pupils stared, and a lotus flower blaze rolled away the red mist. Those evil spirits immediately were burned to slags, and only one evil spirit outside of the red lotus fairy's magic was left with his life as a favor. Looking at this woman of karmaic fire, that man shuddered and crawled on the ground. The vermilion bird territory honored the strong, and this red lotus fairy's cultivation unexpectedly was at the peak of supercluster stage. No wonder the evil spirit tribe would revere her as a monster. Return and inform that great King Devil Mask. This immortal will take his life in a few days. The red lotus fairy coldly spoke. The evil spirit man nodded in fright, turned around and escaped into the fog. The red lotus fairy harumphed. She turned her head to look around, and the other cultivators promptly lowered their gazes. A supercluster peak cultivator's eyes were enough to make their minds entirely break down. Smiling, yet not, the red lotus fairy tread onto a red lotus karma fire, and escaped into Longblood Canyon, as if the red mist along the road had been ripped apart. I never thought the divine flame sword sex red lotus fairy would also come. Indeed, seeing is believing. This red lotus karma fire has perhaps reached the transforming realm. It seems the purple thunder monster's doom is truly at hand this time. Fong Xiangu sighed with some pity. Supercluster peak cultivators mainly were in secluded cultivation. To show themselves, often there would be some important objective. The red lotus fairy was once revered as the divine flame sword sex ancestral master. In addition, legend had it that this red lotus karma fire was even the supreme grade secret technique of the red lotus immortals sect of the ancient great sect, Nine Dragons Great Sect. The purple thunder monster's purple mansion immortals thunder, 17, could not contend against it. Wuxia unenthusiastically glanced at Su Xing. Regretting can still be done if it is right now. Su Xing shrugged and made fun of her. Wife, with you by my side, what does husband have anything to regret about? Although he said this, his eyes still flashed a dignified expression. Wuxia did not care how quick this man was with his tongue, yet she profoundly smiled. The night was cool as water. Su Xing and Wu Xiyo hurried to the stronghold's east gate. Spotting a crowd, Su Xing was somewhat surprised. This Feng Xianggu had unexpectedly assembled close to 100 cultivators. Most of their cultivations were at Nebula middle stage and late stage, with 4 or 5 of them being galaxy stage. Brother Su Xing, haha. To able to see you come truly makes your servant so happy. Feng Xianggu was in the plaza, just so happening to be in a chat with a man and woman. When he saw Su Xing appear, he happily went to welcome Su Xing. This is a lot of people. Su Xing smiled. His gaze landed on that pair. From their outward appearances, these two were very young. The girl's petite face had slight dimples, and the boy was firm and might. The girl was galaxy early stage while the boy's cultivation had reached galaxy middle stage. They did not seem to be Star Masters. After the birth outline passed, Star Masters would enter the Vermilion Bird territory. So Su Xing had no choice but to be mindful. These two are Su Xing and his wife. Feng Xianggu introduced them to everyone. The 100 cultivators present showed astonished expressions as they stared at Wu Xiyo's fully stunning appearance. Although Wu Xiyo was wrapped up in a cloak that covered her wonderful figure, that naturally cool and elegant temperament still made people feel stifled. There was no lack of some of them praising her beauty under their breath. However, Wu Xiyo's galaxy stage cultivation was sufficient to make them fearful. Sensing the iciness that Wu Xiyo emitted, the rest of the cultivators instinctively maintained a certain distance. Su Xing was cheerfully idle. Can we go now? That galaxy middle stage male cultivator said, somewhat annoyed. Your servant's little sister has a small matter. She will arrive very soon. Feng Xianggu apologetically said. Just as he said that, an elegant and supple young maiden of budding beauty walked towards here. When she appeared, the originally somewhat restless and dissatisfied cultivators promptly sunk into tranquility. They stared fixedly on that girl. That girl was approximately 15 or 16 years old. Her figure was exquisite, her hair white as snow. She wore a large-sleeved ash-gray hanfu, and those sleeves were embroidered with golden chrysanthemums blooming in the clouds. Barefooted, those eyes swirled and twinkled. The girl appeared to be considerably charming, but her cultivation was not high, at only Nebula late stage. Yin ran, just a bit further. Feng Xianggu called out. He introduced her. This is your servant's younger cousin, Tuzheng Yin ran. 3. Cousin, you are so amazing, finding a great beauty. Upon the corner of the girl's mouth hung a completely unafraid smile, looking alarmed at Wu Xiyo. Wu Xiyo's eyes slightly narrowed, and she stared at the girl. This is Su Xing and his wife. Do not cause them trouble. Feng Xianggu admonished her. Wow, I really envy you. To be able to marry such a beautiful older sister. Zhen Yanren giggled very lively. The originally discontent people could not help but greatly relax. A moment later, seeing that the night was deep, Su Xing did not want to chat for too much longer. He released a flying sword and gave Wu Xiyo a teasing smile. Wife, come aboard. Wu Xiyo harumphed, then fell onto the flying sword. The others, looking somewhat enviously at Su Xing, each released their flying swords and riding swords for flight. Cousin, can Yanren go together with elder sister? Zhen Yanran said with longing. Do not bother the married couple. Feng Xianggu shook his head, and also let out a flying sword. Zheng Yanran pitifully twitched her lips and stepped onto the flying sword. The 100 cultivators then flew towards Long Blood Canyon. Bright and multicolored sword light concentrated together, and emitted a terrifying might. The scent of blood rolled over and over in Long Blood Canyon. Boundless mountains linked into one. Legend had it that this 10,000 Devils Mountain had 99 peaks, and the most bloodthirsty sinister tribe dwelling in the Vermilion Bird territory were known as the 10,000 Devils. Along the road leading to the Vermilion Bird territory's 5-color city, 5, it could be said this Long Blood Canyon had great danger everywhere. On both ends of the 10,000 Devils Mountain, spying silhouettes appeared in great numbers, but seeing the enormous amount of cultivators, they timidly retreated. Some tribal cultivators with a death wish that secretly wanted to mount a sneak attack had been contrarily killed neatly by the galaxy cultivators using their sword chants. They had been instead turned into the cultivators' spoils of war. In their capacity as the cultivators with the highest cultivations, Su Xing and Wuxia were at the very front of the procession. After penetrating 1,000 li deep, the canyon's increasingly gloomy and encroaching black clouds blocked the moonlight. In the surroundings was a haze, and the shadows of trees swayed as an evil wind gusted. I hear this evil spirit clan will often lay traps to encircle and wipe out cultivators. Are we not taking a bit of a risk? A cultivator was somewhat afraid. There is no need to worry. Did you not see that Senior Red Lotus Fairy wants to take Demi-King Devil Mask's 6th life? Another cultivator disapproved. With the Red Lotus Fairy opening the path, now was simply a great opportunity to enter the Vermilion Bird territory. Even if that demonic King Devil Mask were any stronger, could he outdo the Red Lotus Karma Fire? And I fear that Red Lotus Fairy is deliberately deceiving us. A Galaxy Middle Stage male cultivator's voice sunk. Haha, how could that be? They were unwilling to believe this. When they entered an empty area in the canyon, everyone halted. They saw the corpses of tribesmen and cultivators scattered everywhere along the ground, their blood flowing together as a river. The cultivators' heads had all already disappeared without a trace. This place has traps, quickly leave. Su Xing shouted when he saw this. Everyone hastily accelerated their escape speed. There was a bellow, and the canyon suddenly erupted with a demon's cry. Several hundred demonic laughs suddenly resounds, and with a shuffle, 100 plump heads from all directions changed into specters that shot over. This was the evil spirit clan's head curse. Everyone had anticipated this. Their hands clenched flying swords, artifacts, and talismans that were activated and attacked. 100 sword lights twisted and interweaved, destroying several dozen of the heads. A shrill shout abruptly tore apart the night. It was I who opened this mountain, I who planted this tree. If you want to pass this road, leave your heads behind. An evil chill attacked their whole bodies, and a ghostly howl sounded suddenly from the surroundings. An evil wind whooshed, blowing such that people could not open their eyes. All the cultivators' expressions changed, for it was the Demi-King. The Vermilion Bird territory's so-called Demi-Kings were classified as clan chiefs. Their cultivations were supercluster stage at the minimum, and hearing the Demi-King's voice, these people became panicked. At this time, the evil wind suddenly blew stronger, turning the 100 heads to more than 1,000 that fell like a downpour. The evil wind turned even stronger, and cultivators with slightly lower cultivations were blown away in the blink of an eye. The 100 cultivators' formation had been instantly dissolved. Leave behind your heads. An intense voice filled with complacency. Ah, we have been tricked by the Red Lotus Fairy. Run away quickly. All the cultivators shouted in confusion. The Galaxy Stage cultivators used their sword chant abilities, turned their flying swords into arrays and evasions, carving out a bloody path. They were unwilling to throw away their lives alongside a crowd of Nebula Stage cultivators. These people had nothing to do with them anyways, so leaving them behind to act as targets was good. Su Xing at this moment did not care about this. The evil wind and head curse that the evil spirit clan used turned stronger and stronger, and their cultivators were more and more in numbers. Su Xing spread out his divine intent, immediately attacking towards the Demon King. Several dozen li away, Demi-King Devil Mask suddenly sensed a divine intent. His heart shook, and he instantly saw 2 cultivators. When he saw Su Xing was only Galaxy Stage, he instantly sneered. Your head is best used for this king's heart-devouring heads array. 700 heads screamed and opened their big mouths, biting at Su Xing. As per our agreement in advance, your servant indeed will not assist you. Wuxia had an aloof manner. How could I need to trouble wife with this sort of small matter? Su Xing chuckled. I never thought Mei would unexpectedly like a lecher such as yourself. Wuxia finally could not bear it. Su Xing laughed. Taking liberties with this icy beauty would feel rather good. Unexpectedly flirting before this king. Demi-King Devil Mask was 3 zhang tall, his demon horn prominent. He struck a seal, and the heads became a black wind that rolled towards Su Xing. Su Xing grunted, extending a finger. 12 golden swords suddenly revealed themselves, shining with sparkling golden light that brightly lit the dark night. Under Su Xing's control, heaven-tearing sword light seemingly formed a huge net at high speeds around his body. Demon King Devil Mask's heart-devouring head curse had been struck down into disorder and disarray. That terrifying black chi was easily slashed in half the moment it touched heaven-tearing sword chi. Heaven-tearing was but forged from the heaven-tearing gold dragon's scales. How could their spiritual powers and sword tips be resisted by these heads? The sword chant rushed. The 12 heaven-tearing golden swords sparkled as they floated in the air. What are these flying swords? Demi-King Devil Mask shouted. Flying swords that want your life. Su Xing sneered, and a light flashed inside his eyes. The heaven-tearing swords cried with a dragon's roar, piercing through the wind. A galaxy stage cultivator dares to be pretentious before this king. Demi-King Devil Mask yelled, and his demon horn shot out a bolt of black light the thickness of a water bucket. The golden light alternated. It cut down this black light. Demi-King Devil Mask had yet to come to his senses when the 12 heaven-tearing swords suddenly pounced down like a golden dragon. Sire! The other evil spirit clan demon soldiers shouted in fear. Demi-King Devil Mask showed an overwhelmed expression, and his body suddenly fell to pieces, dying just like that. Those demon soldiers looked as if they had seen a monster, screaming and fleeing. Su Xing only sent a glance, and golden light scattered in every direction. Within the night, golden light glinted, and blood-curdling screams rang incessantly. In the blink of an eye, the cries were cut short. Indeed, it deserves to be called an immemorial sword chant. Wuxia coldly chuckled. Su Xing smiled. Originally, he had thought of going back, but he reconsidered. Since they had already entered the Vermilion Bird territory undercover, there was no need to. Moreover, with the Demon King's death, the remainders were small bandits not worth mention. Those people were cultivators that experienced life or death, and thinking it over, Su Xing raised the flying sword and flew towards the depths of the canyon. Fang Xiangu took Zheng Hanyan forward under cover of the forest, his face nervous and cautious, a contrast to the girl, who actually was very indifferent in expression. She looked at Fang Xiangu engrossed. Ghostly howls blocked his path forward. Several evil spirit clan demon soldiers yelled loudly, raising the weapons in their hands as they attacked. Fang Xiangu consecutively killed several demon soldiers when suddenly, a head bit onto his soldier. His body was promptly sliced by a sword. Seeing that their objective was injured, the evil spirit clan demon soldiers became excited, using the fiend technique on their sabers continuously. Hurry and go, cousin will protect you. Fang Xiangu bit open his finger, and threw out several talismans. Shwa. Several dozen heads ferociously opened their mouths wide, biting over with evil smiles. Fang Xiangu's handsome face was somewhat pale, his gaze seemingly in despair. In an instant, long hair like snow fluttered past the corner of Fang Xiangu's eye. A wide hanfu raised its sleeves in front of him, and the hair that was like snow emitted a pale radiance in the night. Several dozen heads were immediately disintegrated. He only saw that the Zheng Yanran that looked as if she was incapable of riding swords suddenly take on a new form, and her hand clenched a Modeo, 8, that blocked in front of him. The girl's smile was still frivolous as before as she gazed at Fang Xiangu with an expression of admiration. Cousin, it would be better to let little sis come play with these evil spirits. The girl's figure was chilling, and the Modeo had a cold light like iron. Yanran, could it be that you are a star general? Fang Xiangu's mouth hung agape. Several days afterward, Su Xing descended and landed upon a jutting highland, viewing the faraway mountains. The left had poisonous clouds of miasma, and the right had bugs and other poisonous creatures grow and crawl. There were many deep streams on the mountain, bubbling with the sound of running water. There was an overcast gloom, and caverns abounded in great numbers, the bewildering rocks sinister. The swamps within the range of several dozen li splashed with the large bubbles constantly emitted. Soft grass and sludge accumulated within, a fermenting mold that would make those who smelled it vomit. That place is the poison toad pool. Su Xing thought to himself, wrinkling his brow. The Vermilion Bird territory's topography sure was complicated and steep. A great deal of the valleys had dense evil airs, amassed without dispersing, surging straight up. A strong wind blew, and it had a fishy odor. Clearly, those violent and ruthless clans occupied the area. Seeing the overpowering stench of this poison toad pool stretching several dozen li, the smell reeked. If it was not for the evil smiting writ, Su Xing honestly would have no interest coming to this place. It was no wonder that when she learned Su Xing wanted to go to the poison toad pool, Wuxia would have no interest in following. The poison pool interfered with divine intent, and at this moment, that detoxification pearl from when he and Ensuin became sworn siblings was now actually useful. Su Xing swallowed the pearl, and against the permeating stench, he withstood the marshland gases. He looked around and once again soared high on his riding sword to begin his search for the evil smiting writ. In actuality, this evil smiting writ was not a so-called tag, but rather, every sort of legendary materials that had been paired together, to be used with starfire to forge things specially made to confront the star beasts. The evil smiting writ's raw materials were myriad. More or less there were 5 spirits, 5 poisons, 5 smells, 5 hearts, 5 medicines, and others. Each targeted the constitutions of the Star General's star beasts with different effects that were not at all the same. What Su Xing was currently searching for was the 5 poisons. This sort of 5 poisons evil smiting writ could more easily receive star beasts, especially from the perspective of heavenly stars. The knowledge stars ranked 3rd star beasts certainly would not be that easy to confront. Su Xing also came to the poison pool because he had heard this place had poison toad grass. Circling around the poison pool, as expected, several patches were found within the poison pool. Su Xing furrowed his brow, for he was not pressed to go pick it. On the pond, there reclined a monster whose entire body stunk from head to toe with a toxic gas, currently concealed beneath the pond's surface. For black, gleaming eyes stared at every movement above the pool's surface. If it was not for Su Xing being careful, he would not have immediately sensed it. With a croak, the monster suddenly jumped out of the pond. This monster's form was not large at 3 zhang wide and 5-6 zhang long. Its shape was apparently a large toad. Its skin had numerous pores and dimples, flowing ulcers all over its body, releasing a nauseating stink that made it appear somewhat disgusting. Furthermore, along with this monster's croaking, its body emitted a black fog from time to time. Poison toad. Su Xing's brows wrinkled once more. Although encountering a demon beast like the poison toad was not surprising, actually seeing this monster was still somewhat thorny. This type of poison toad lived within the toxic gas of the swamp. The poison it sprayed could corrupt artifacts and magic weapons, damaging their spiritual powers. As Su Xing pondered, the poison toad already croaked loudly, and an ominous glint flashed in its glossy black eyes. Between its breaths, a poison fire sprayed out of its mouth. The poison fire was 100 meters wide, dispersing a stink that shot aggressively towards Su Xing. Su Xing did not panic, and instead, flipped his wrist. A binding purple magic cloud's thunder and lightning mixed in his hand. Ever since he had swallowed the Purple Heart's Immortal's dragon pills, Su Xing's purple star transforming chi reached the peak of the first stage, and passed through continuous refinement, successfully combining into one with the blooming water divine thunder. The current blooming water divine thunder was no longer water-like and thunder-like as it was before. It was now an entirely purple thunder that was just like a new thunder magic. Liangshan continent practiced many different types of the 5 elements astonishing magics, and each of the 5 elements had many sorts of varieties. Just thunder alone had clinging fire divine thunder, blooming water divine thunder, and more. The majority depended on every sort of ability to be refined, and nowadays, matching it with the purple star transforming chi, Su Xing actually surprisingly refined a new thunder magic in Liangshan continent. The thunder and lightning completely understood attachment to the purple clouds and auspicious light, so Su Xing dubbed it Purple Mansion Immortal's Thunder. 3. In his heart, there existed the thought to test the might of the Purple Mansion Immortal's Thunder. At once, he raised up the Purple Mansion Immortal's Thunder in his hand. That purple magic cloud and immortal thunder in his hand immediately condensed into a purple auspicious flower, flying at its opponent light as a feather, just so happening to encounter the immense poison fire the poison toad sprayed. The poison toad's poison fire had a diameter in excess of 6 to 7 zhang. and that purple thunder flower of the condensed purple mansion immortal's thunder was no more than several inches in size. Truly, it was somewhat like the difference between an ant and an elephant, but let alone that this purple thunder was only so small, it had gone through the purple star transforming chi, concentrating into the quintessential. It could be said this little purple flower was even stronger than that blooming water divine thunder lightning python shape. The two attacks touched in midair, and a terrifying explosion appeared. With a Zila sound, the poison fire and purple thunder clashed. A layer of purple magic cloud spread out and wrapped up the poison fire. The originally disgusting poison fire instantly became an immortal's magic cloud. Purple lightning surged, appearing to be inconceivable. At this sort of scene, even Su Xing was slightly stunned when he witnessed it, for it greatly exceeded his expectations. However, when the opposing poison toad saw that its poison fire had been confined, it became enraged. It opened its mouth, and hundreds upon thousands of fist-sized poison fires violently bubbled forth from the pores and bumps in its skin. It fiercely shot over, yet Su Xing twitched his lips and waved one hand. He threw out 100 ice cone talismans. The talismans exploded, dispersing countless ice cones that shot out in a thick storm towards the poison fires. With a resounding explosion, the poison fire and ice cones ripped apart the cloud and poison fire, releasing a large plume of poison gas, interweaving together in midair. The poison toad's poison fire was exceptional as expected. It had broke, but the poison gas vigor was even more fierce. Su Xing stared ahead, and then its figure actually shot backwards. The poison toad croaked, and its silhouette suddenly appeared beneath him. Its speed was quick, as if 1,000 meters was nothing. The poison toad opened its mouth with another bolt of fierce poison flame. This poison flame was even larger than the previous poison fire. Su Xing raised his wrist, and several purple lotus flowers formed from the purple mansion immortal's thunder dropped downwards. Just like before, the purple thunder trapped the poison fire, extinguishing the poison fire's toxic gases. Su Xing waved his hand, and a heaven tearing suddenly shot out. The poison toad cried, and a surge suddenly lifted in the swamp. Su Xing used an innate escape technique, flying onto a boulder. He stared closely at the poison toad that was still where it had been. The wound that had been ripped into it by heaven tearing surprisingly bubbled up. It self-healed, and Su Xing could not help but click his tongue. The poison toad was an ancient demon beast. Although it was only a 6th-ranked demon beast, it had the power to poison lakes. This poison pool was practically its magic weapon. Besides being able to endlessly heal its vigor and wounds, it could also use the poison swamp to instantly move. The poison toad was not that intelligent. Having been injured in its own territory, it was immediately infuriated. Without thinking, poison smoke flashed from its body, turning into a black light, rising vigorously to chase him. Su Xing used his sword chant without any hesitation. 12 golden heaven tearings appeared, and they immediately flashed by. Barely chasing more than 100 meters away, golden light suddenly erupted in the escaping poison toad's surroundings. A dull golden barrier appeared all around it, and after the barrier released a dragon roar, several golden dragons randomly appeared and disappeared, pouncing out. The poison toad was startled, instinctively stopping its escape light. Its pairs of eyes rolled about wildly, even issuing a menacing growl from its mouth. The wounds on its skin sprayed poison gas as concentrated as ink, and the swamp below that was mobilized by its urging unexpectedly stopped the attack of the 12 heaven tearings. Su Xing poked with a finger, and the galaxy stage artifact sky-breaking spear flew out. The heaven tearing sword array naturally would not have any effect on his artifact, and at once, it flashed and penetrated the sword array to attack the poison toad within. The poison toad saw this scene, and although its intelligence was not high, it instinctively sensed danger. Immediately, it gave a world-shaking cry, and its body shrunk soon after. Then it suddenly swelled, developing into the life-cast ability a demon beast naturally had. After the poison toad roared, those poison smokes and poison flames immediately formed into black shields. These small shields were densely packed, wrapping the poison toad inside. In the blink of an eye, it formed 3 layers of poison shield-like covers. 5. Just at this moment, the sky-breaking spear and heaven-tearing swords nearly simultaneously stuck onto these light covers. With the sound of a continuous explosion, the sword lights and poison shields intersected each other. For a moment, there was a glaring and blinding light, worthy of being called the toad of the poison pool. It surprisingly has even refined its life-cast ability. Su Xing clicked his tongue, actually not daring to be careless in the slightest. 100 purple mansion immortals' thunders simultaneously fell, striking against the poison toad's poison pook shield. The poison toad violently roared, and a black beam of light thick as a water jar sprayed out. With a thud, the flying swords could block it for only an instant before it broke away from the flying swords and shot over. The black suddenly spread out wide, and then a pillar of poisonous wind suddenly rolled up in the poison toad's surroundings. In a flash, it unexpectedly blew away the sky-breaking spear, heaven-tearing swords and the purple mansion immortal's thunder. A shadow abruptly rolled towards Su Xing, which astonishingly was the poison toad's poison tongue. Su Xing chuckled and flung his large sleeves. The 12 golden bright and dazzling flying swords instantly came to his side. Having used the life-cast heart flower during refinement, the life-cast sword chant could immediately return to protect their master. The poison tongue was promptly severed by the flying swords, and then the 12 flying swords spiraled backwards, falling down at Su Xing's hand seal, combining into a massive sword. This sword's golden light was brilliant, and its cold air was pressing. The sword tip's dragon scales were like the real things, letting out a dragon roar. When he saw the massive sword change forms, Su Xing expressionlessly extended his hand and powerfully waved it. The golden light slightly flashed, and the huge sword slashed downwards. In confronting this ancient demon beast, Su Xing did not dare be careless, and seeing that this poison toad had cultivated at this place for quite some time, meaning it was more troublesome than the average cultivator, the flying swords released a muffled whistle, and when he spat out the word go, amidst the buzzing, the huge sword became a golden dragon that fiercely shot forth, copping straight at that poison toad. The poison toad had become accustomed to being the overlord of the poison pool, and the powerful poison on its body once again glistened. Its belly suddenly expanded rapidly. Apparently, it planned to use some ability to counterattack. Just at this moment, the gigantic golden sword instantly flew right above the poison toad's head, bringing a powerful and astonishing dragon cry as it hacked downwards. The poison toad stared at the golden sword above it. Its glossy black eyes blinked a few times, seemingly sensing the threat of the enormous sword. It had only expanded its abdomen by several factors, and it could no longer proceed. Making an odd noise, it spat out a black pellet. With a bang, the black pellet like the marsh clashed with the golden light. After but a brief cut, the huge sword was frozen stiff by this black pellet, and then a black chi pervaded across the sword. A corrupted magic weapon. Su Xing nodded his head. The poison toad's eyes flashed an ominous glint. Immediately, it opened its mouth and made a shrill cry. That black pellet instantly exploded, and the black chi in a flash surged forth like a giant river, wrapping the golden swords within in an instant. The golden swords had turned sluggish. Seeing as how the circumstances had unexpectedly been restricted, from a life-cast abilities perspective, this demon beast wanted to consume the spirit chi of the golden swords. Su Xing was blank at first, but the corner of his mouth immediately curled, turning into a cold grin. How could a 7th-ranked demon beast dragon scale sword blade be that easy to digest? Forming hand seals, he lightly urged the enormous sword. The golden light on the sword promptly flashed wildly, and the sword-tip spirit chi overflowed from the dragon scales. The huge sword seized this chance to slightly trembled. Like a dragon emerging from the sea, it broke out of the poison sea's enclosure. In the next moment, it appeared over the poison toad's poison shield, then powerfully chopped downwards. The dragon cry on the sword suddenly swelled. Along with a ripping sound, the poison shield instantly broke, and the sword instantly appeared right above the poison toad. It aimed at the large head, ferociously slashing downwards. The poison toad simply did not expect the circumstances to turn so suddenly. Its meticulously refined poison pellet unexpectedly was incapable of corrupting this magic weapon. By the time it became aware, the flying sword broke through its poison smoke, arriving atop its head. With a croak, the poison toad wanted to escape. Su Xing closed his fist, and dragon claw purple lightning seized it. The heaven-tearing sword immediately severed this poison toad's head. A soul flew out, which Su Xing received with a sigh of relief. For one person to handle an ancient 6th-ranked demon beast honestly was somewhat exhausting. The large sword dispersed, and the 12 golden flying swords floated before him. Su Xing inspected them, and his brows slightly wrinkled. This poison toad was incredible, as expected. Even if it was refined using dragon scales, heaven-tearing showed signs of corruption. Luckily, this sort of immemorial sword chant only needed nurturing inside his body for a few days to recover. Just as Su Xing was about to go collect the poison toad, a whistling sound suddenly came from the sky. Su Xing hastily retreated and raised his head to look. He saw a delicate silhouette fall from the skies, and when he got a clear look of that girl's appearance, Su Xing firmly suppressed the flying sword's intent to attack. He rose and caught the girl with a leap. The young girl was approximately 12 or 13 years old in appearance. She wore a flower crown and long head cover, a multicolored flower dress, golden flowing shoulder covers. Her button-styled skirt hems and corners hung golden phoenix-like feathers. She seemed just like a fairy that emerged from the sun-golden palace. But this time, the girl's expression was very pained. She half opened her eyes, and her mouth slightly opened, wanting to say something. She was no stranger. She was the leisure star dragon in the clouds Gongsun Sheng. Su Xing shouted in disbelief. Dragon in the clouds, what happened? Gongsun Sheng was Maiden Mountain's ranked 4th. Number 1 in magic energy, and on several occasions, her attacks had helped him avert disasters. Su Xing held grateful feelings towards this mysterious girl. When he originally saw Gongsun Sheng directly enter the Vermilion Bird territory, he had wanted to find an opportunity to seek out Gongsun Sheng to thank her. He had not expected they would meet at this time. Especially now, when it seemed that Gongsun Sheng was in very poor health. Her entire body's skin released a black qi. Astonishingly, it was poison. Su Xing opened his mouth and spat out the detoxification pearl. Open your mouth. Su Xing hastily said. Dragon in the clouds Gongsun Sheng obediently opened her lips slightly. Her circumstances seemed to be very terrible, almost to the point of losing consciousness. Su Xing placed the detoxification pearl into her mouth, and only then was that unbearable toxic qi suppressed for the moment. He suddenly heard several sky-breaking noises. More than a dozen figures descend before Su Xing in succession. The newcomers wore demi-race attire, and their whole bodies were adorned with many silver decorations. Wings like those of a roc grew out of their backs. The wings still flapped, and among them, a bare-chested man made Su Xing feel a chill. The wings on his back unexpectedly were golden. He was taller than the others, and his eyes emitted an evil air. His cultivation was astonishingly at supercluster early stage, one of the Vermilion Bird territory's demi-kings. These winged men and women looked at the Gongsun Sheng in Su Xing's embrace, and their eyes promptly released radiance. Cultivator of the Vermilion Bird territory, quickly release that little girl. And we will let you live. 12 heaven-tearing sword lights wound around, issuing a deterrent. These people were blank, hastily activating each of their own tricks. Were you the ones who injured her? Su Xing expressionlessly asked. The queen has mind to befriend Azure Dragon territory cultivators. Give this little girl to us, and we shall let you go. That supercluster early stage man coldly said. What queen? Su Xing chuckled. This cultivator has killed the poison toad. A woman saw the poison toad's corpse and screamed. It was at this moment that Su Xing's expression changed, and the sword lights shot in all directions. These Rockwing tribesmen had already put up their guard, each clawing out an enormous sword. These large swords were forged of black iron, slashing with the rumble of thunder. With a thunderclap, two of the men were in disbelief that they had been pierced through by the flying swords. The rest hastily flapped their wings when they saw this. Their speeds were extremely quick, flying to the sky in a split second. They brandished their wings, and a thunderwind boomed, battling with the flying swords. Su Xing closed his right fist, and several purple lotus flowers shot over. The purple lotuses fell before them in the blink of an eye. The clansmen again used their wings, instantly flying several hundred meters, their speeds honestly swift to the extreme. Another two were slower a tad, and when the purple flowers touched their bodies, purple thunder instantly surged. Like 10,000 swords attacking, they lost their lives in the blink of an eye. Su Xing had wanted to use another thunder shot. Suddenly, he sensed an immense pressure attack. The supercluster stage man had secretly approached in the blink of an eye. An iron fist violently exploded towards Su Xing. A thunderclap that broke the air with a boom, incomparably terrifying in power. The 12 flying swords instantly blocked in front of Su Xing, becoming a shield. Bang! The golden-winged man's fist directly banged against the swords. The heaven-tearing swords violently rang. The tipped sword chi fiercely tore out. This man completely did not care, following closely with another fist. Those golden wings flapped to act as repulsion, unexpectedly raising his speed to the extreme. His pressure continuously suppressed Su Xing. Su Xing's throat rolled, and nearly bubbled up with blood. The life-cast sword chant and his own life were linked. Whatever harm the flying sword suffered, the cultivator himself would also be injured. This demi-king's fist was like 1,000 caddies of thunder, rolling forth. More than a dozen punches had forced Su Xing back 1,000 meters. The flying sword's dragon scales sparkled, continuously crashing into the opposing fists. If it was not forged from 9th-ranked dragon scales, Su Xing could not say for sure whether or not these flying swords would have been smashed to pieces if this continued. The golden-winged man now was also shocked in his heart. He discerned that Su Xing's sword chant ability was extraordinary, which was why he had an exchange at the start. He never expected a galaxy early-stage cultivator could become hostile so quickly. Immediately he did not hesitate to use his strongest golden wing thunder fist, the Rock Clan's most powerful boxing technique. His punch was like a sudden clap of thunder, one that could cleave the skies and split the mountains, especially with flapping of his golden wings that increased his power to the next level. Let alone that this was a galaxy early stage's flying swords. Even a similar supercluster early stage demi-king opponent could not necessarily endure this. If it was the former, after 10 punches, the enemy should have been exploded into dust. This sword sure enough had oddities. If he could snatch these flying swords, just maybe he could break away from that she-monster. Thinking of this, the golden-winged man's fists were even more violent as swelling waters. Su Xing was somewhat pained to speechlessness. He had just faced the poison toad, and now he had encountered this sort of thing. In addition, this man was not like typical cultivators. Cultivators most feared close combat warriors, and that continuous barrage of fists completely immobilized the flying swords, an entirely closed-down situation. Su Xing's brow wrinkled. He knew that if this continued he would inevitably be at a disadvantage. Flee? Su Xing actually had not thought of this, and seeing that these people had injured Gong Sun Sheng, Su Xing already had the desire to kill them. His eyes were fixed on each of the man's punches, and in that concentrated instant he received a punch. Su Xing's divine intent moved. The flying swords instantly scattered. With practically no time to hesitate, Su Xing's gaze turned fierce, and his body exerted itself to step onto a point of the flying sword. His whole body was already like a sharp arrow unleashed. While he was moving, he violently waved his left hand. That large body of the golden-winged man also did not break off in the slightest for this reason. His speed was even faster, turning into something like a rocket in an instant. His entire body became straight line in midair. He drew his right hand behind him, and it could be clearly seen his whole body's 1,000 caddies thunderclap was concentrating there. However, in an instant his entire right fist was already like a dazzling ball of light. An enormous thunderclap rolled, and a fierce aura splashed in every direction, mighty as a torrent. Boom! Bang! The place Su Xing was at suddenly exploded into a great plume of purple cloud and lightning. Like an earthquake, a heaven-overflowing purple cloud like a hurricane spun around next to him. It pressed towards the golden-winged man, hiding the skies and covering the earth. The man punches, unexpectedly ripping apart the purple thunder, but at the same time his whole body trembled, having suffered a shock. Meanwhile, Su Xing's silhouette once again vanished. The auspicious clouds of the Purple Mansion Immortal's thunder covered the golden-winged man's entire line of sight. A huge thunder roll left him at an even greater loss of what to do. Under the purple lightning Su Xing fully exerted to bring out those fast-as-sound movements of the golden-winged man promptly were restricted. Tiny thunder and lightning dares to misbehave before this king. He suddenly threw both his arms in front of himself for protection, tightly joining them together. Then he opened both his arms, and his wings wildly danced, proving himself to be of supercluster early-stage cultivation. A powerful chi soul directly dissipated the purple clouds, thunder and lightning completely from his body's surroundings. It was just that Su Xing had never thought of relying on the Purple Mansion Immortal's thunder to bring him harm, and he seized the chance to already reach his front. Bang! His right wrist flipped, and a heaven tearing appeared in his hand. It resolutely ripped upon the golden-winged man's chin. An immense enough to be frightening ripping sensation instantly exploded in his head, and struck him back suddenly. Blood violently sprayed in an instant, and that malevolent face contorted, his expression very wretched. Without any pause, another sword brought the whooshing of wind, and once again slashed viciously on the golden-winged man's body. While the surplus energy had not yet dissipated, the flying sword simultaneously flashed. Heaven tearing was like a windmill, carrying a terrifying whistle that continuously cut upon the same place, a sharp tearing sound that was just like a death god's smile. However, in a short instant, golden sword shadows wrapped around the golden-winged man's body. There was a vigorous thunderclap. The swamp suddenly rolled with black waves. Su Xing moved his divine intent, hastily switching to the extreme sincerity soul technique. When he looked again, he saw that Demi-King had become a golden light that instantly escaped 1,000 meters away, breaking out from the flying sword's encirclement. Su Xing saw that of the man's 2 arms, one of them had already been severed by the flying swords. The golden-winged man stared at the Su Xing before him in disbelief. His supercluster early-stage cultivation was unexpectedly unable to deal with this galaxy early-stage star cultivator. Flee! The man shouted. How could Su Xing be willing to let him go? He pointed his finger resolutely. Sword chi skyrocketed. The faces of the other Rock clan members were pale. Without the slightest hesitation, they flapped their wings to escape far away. Their speed was extremely fast, going 1,000 meters with a flap. Su Xing simply could not catch up to them, so he did not wish to pursue. His star energy was nearly spent, and if the opponents were still to aim for a mutual death, the one running would be him. Seems this Demi-King has his ups and downs. Su Xing thought. He really could not be too careless around a supercluster stage cultivator. He lowered his head to look at Gong Sunsheng. The small girl slightly opened her eyes, weak beyond compare. I'm taking you back first. Su Xing looked at the bag in his hand. It was taken at the same time the flying sword went to kill the golden-winged man. Collecting the remaining items, he then flew back towards Five Color City. Looking at Gong Sunsheng's feeble enough to fall at the first blow appearance, his forehead was even tighter. A sorry-looking young girl wearing yellow robes and golden armor burst through the mountain forest, thunder all around her, wind howling from all directions. Vaguely, a playful laugh resounded through the forest. The girl was increasingly anxious. Her forehead's star crest rapidly flashed from bright to dim. Judging from her pained expression, her flowing cold sweat, it was apparent she had been heavily poisoned. There was a sharp sound in the wind. The young girl held the dog-fang gale edge in her hand and slashed. A tearing wind whooshed, and several fine as hair, scorpion-like golden needles were cut down by the saber's wind, but these scorpion needles were very tricky. A few golden needles breached the saber wind's cracks and stuck into the girl's delicate skin. The girl was immediately in pain, nearly stumbling. Little sister Crazy Star Lonely Fiery Star Kong Liang. 2. You had better still obediently return to the Liangshan Maiden. There was a voice that was like teasing its prey. 2 exquisite figures appeared, blocking the Crazy Star's path in front and back. The newcomer was a small girl of 11 or 12. She wore a tiger pelt long coat and a tiger head cap. Her delicate face wore a kind of innocent smile, showing a cute baby tooth. Obviously, she appeared to be that sort of innocent and pure, but her hands' movements would make people shiver. The little girl wearing a red tiger pelt and children's clothes pinched her hands around golden needles. These golden needles were fine as hair, with a vaguely visible scorpion motif. And the small girl blocking Kong Liang's rear was identical, similar in age, similar in attire, but her expression had a sort of gloom that was completely juxtaposed to her age. That visible baby tooth added a slight malevolence, and she looked at Kong Liang with malicious intentions. Elder sisters honestly indeed keep Kong Nian 3 constantly in mind. The crazy star Kong Nian panted, her expression increasingly pale. The scorpion needle poison invading her skin currently was quickly stripping her consciousness, forcing her hands and feet to slowly numb. So annoying, hurry up and die. The gloomy little girl seemed like she was looking at a corpse. She abruptly raised a hand, and several green lights violently shot out. The crazy star Kong Nian grit her teeth, suddenly throwing herself towards the little girl with the scorpion needles. The Dogfang Gale saber raised a saber chi, forming intertwined fangs, wrapping layer over layer towards the little girl. That small girl giggled, and the golden scorpion tail needles shot into the saber chi with a hiss. She retreated, and those fine needles easily penetrated the saber chi while Kong Nian dodged to the side. From the corner of her eye, she suddenly glanced a demonic green light. Kong Nian's expression was pale. Rapidly she swung down the saber, splitting the green light, which turned into two snake shadows that dug into her body. Kong Nian's whole body went stiff. She opened her eyes wide and knelt, turning her head around. A cold-blooded curve hung on the corner of that gloomy little girl's lips. Several small green snakes frolicked around her body. Her expression changed, and a two-headed green snake suddenly pierced into her abdomen. Kong Nian whimpered and fell where she was, her whole body incessantly twitching. Elder sister, you are so annoying. Little sister had wanted to play more. The girl holding the golden scorpion tail needles drummed her cheek, somewhat not too happy. She waved her hand, and green snakes emerged out of Kong Nian's body to return to her palm. Those were flying sabers similar to the bamboo viper. Little Diao, 5 Little Chan, 6 How did you play? A somewhat kind voice abruptly resounded. Little Diao and Little Chan raised their heads. An imperial canopy aromatic cart approached from the skies. Its surroundings had several dozen beautiful female immortals strum lutes and burn incense. Their hands clasped every sort of instrument. Several imposing and reserved demikin stood to the side of the imperial canopy cart, draped in swanenai, 7 armor. Golden rock wings grew from their backs, and their eyes attentively scanned their surroundings. The one sitting in the cart was a beautiful and enchanting woman. Her head had a golden thread 8 treasures collection pearl bun. 8 bound with a morning sun 5 phoenixes hanging pearl hairpin. 9. Around her neck was a pure gold chi jade ring. 10. The sides of her skirt were connected with pea green palace braids, 2 weights more respectable than roses. Her body wore a golden 100 butterflies flower pierced crimson fine silk, 11 tight coat, and her outerwear was enveloped with 5 colors Kasai azurite silver rat gown. 12 below was a jadeite flower scattering silk skirt. 13 She had a pair of red phoenix eyes, 2 bending eyebrows, a slender stature, excellent physique. Her heavy makeup did not show, had not yet opened when she laughed and asked, Mother Highness. The 2 girls raised their heads and showed affection. The woman slightly smiled, flying quickly out of the cart. This woman was the Vermilion Bird Territory's famous and diversely discussed Lady Snake Scorpion. Mother Highness, elder sister Kong Nian has already been prepared for you. The little Chan holding the golden scorpion tail needles twitched her lips, grumbling as she looked at that gloomy sister. But elder sister is so annoying, again taking action. The woman being called mother smiled with charm and caressed little Chan's head. No injuries? Hee none. This is good. If you were to be injured, mother would be distressed. Lady Snake Scorpion nodded in satisfaction. Mother, kill her now. Little Diao expressionlessly said. Lady Snake Scorpion looked at the nearly unconscious crazy star Kong Nian. showing a smirk that was like a poppy. Her hands waved, and more than a dozen golden centipedes immediately shot out, enlarging as they bit Kong Nian. Kong Nian lost her breath, and her whole body became light particles. In the sky, a crimson star fell. Lady Snake Scorpion enjoyed the star energy from the sky in perfect content, her body releasing a dark purple chi. The twin girls stared fixedly at Mother Highness each and every move. A moment later, Lady Snake Scorpion opened her eyes. She held little Diao and little Chan in each of her arms, and leisurely boarded the Imperial Canopy aromatic cart. Return to home. The aromatic cart suddenly stopped for a moment. Several people descended before the cart and knelt. Golden Wings should die. 14. The mission that Queen assigned was unable to be completed. These were not just anyone, but were the rock clansmen that previously fought with Su Xing. At this time, the Demi-King Golden Wings had an arm severed, which appeared very sorry. Golden Wings, how did this happen? Lady Snake Scorpion's tone was slightly discontented. Did this throne not have you lead your clansmen to go capture that dragon in the clouds? How were things bungled to this? Could it be that Leisure Star who had received the goo poison was still capable of injuring you? Queen must understand. Golden Wings met with an Azure Dragon territory cultivator to fall into this situation. Demi-King Golden Wings bowed and explained. Suddenly, Demi-King Golden Wings' face contorted, and he collapsed onto the ground. From within the cart came a cold voice. Do you believe that this throne is very easy to trick? That a galaxy early-stage cultivator can injure you like this? Queen, please spare me. Subordinate can bear witness. That cultivator's flying sword ability was extremely out of the ordinary, and it had even killed the poison toad. What? What did you say? The Imperial Canopy was pulled open, and Lady Snake Scorpion walked out. Her eyes had fury. A galaxy early-stage cultivator unexpectedly killed this throne's meticulously bred poison-eye toad? 16. Could it be that it was killed at the poison pool? Precisely. What did he look like? Did he have a star general? Subordinate did not see a star general, and his appearance was very ordinary. Interesting, interesting. Lady Snake Scorpion coldly smiled. No star general. Then he is not a star master. 17. Queen, Golden Wings fears he is one of the Azure Dragon territory's great sects. Demi-King Golden Wings said. Lady Snake Scorpion grunted. She said alluringly. This throne has heard the Great King raise the topic before. The Azure Dragon territory has turned out a purple thunder monster that has become enemies with the Azure Dragon territory's 10 great sects. Some of the ancestral masters of these great sects specially came to the Vermilion Bird territory to execute this monster, and desired for the Falling Dragon Mountains, 18 cooperation, possessing a sword chant that could make Golden Wings feel it was out of the ordinary. It seems the great sects were unmistaken. This throne will carefully consult with the Great King about the person in question. It can be presumed he has not been hidden for long. Golden Wings, go back first to properly recuperate. This throne orders your rock clansmen to immediately search for him. As you command. Has that little thief that stole the birth treasure outline been found yet? 19. Subordinate should die. Truly you are trash. Could it be the entire 10,000 summits are unable to find them? Lady Snake Scorpion sat back down in the cart, returned to Falling Dragon Hall. Mother Highness, are we letting that dragon in the clouds go? Little Chan feels that is such a pity. Little Chan twitched her lips. No matter. Lady Snake Scorpion smiled. She was struck with your heaven and earth, dark and yellow, 20, and the 1,000-year poison dragon goo, 21. Even if she is the dragon in the clouds, she has not much longer to live. 5 Colors City, Bright Shining Hall Pavilion. 22. The Vermilion Bird territory's demi-clans were everywhere, where the strong were respected. On the basis of strength, like the Azure Dragon territory, it possessed linked and complex major powers. However, the Vermilion Bird territory's major powers were not named according to capitals. Furthermore, each of their territories was based on their own mountain peak. This 5 Colors City was classified as within the influence of Mount Danxia. 23. Normal demikin would not dare be impudent here. Su Xing carried Gong Sun Sheng into Five-Color City. He raised his head and saw a crimson star fall from the sky, darkening his wrinkled brow. A period of no more than a few days had passed since he had come to the Vermilion Bird territory. He never thought that he would already see 3 stars fall. One fell into the Black Turtle territory, and the other 2 falling stars descended within the Vermilion Bird territory. Furthermore, the starfall's direction seemingly was towards the same spot. It seemed this Vermilion Bird territory brimmed with danger for star generals. Come to think about, it was after the second phase. After the birth treasure outline appeared. How could the Star Master that obtained the birth outline possibly not exploit this kind of opportunity? Looking at the weakly breathing Gong Sun Sheng, Su Xing's heart was briefly anxious. He did not know who it was that unexpectedly could injure the leisure star this heavily. Returning to the room he got from the hall pavilion, Su Xing happened to see Wuxia stand in front of the window watching the sky. "You have returned this quickly?" Wuxia raised her brows. Then, she suddenly spotted the small girl upon Su Xing's chest, and her brow wrinkled. Su Xing gently placed Gong Sun Sheng on the bed. It was fortunate that he had Suan's medical arts. It could not be counted as excellent, but he was not completely lacking. Gong Sun Sheng's breath was weak, and her body was vaguely shivering. He sensed her meridians and breathing had been plugged and disoriented, seemingly as if there was some sort of thing engulfing her star energy / leisure star Gong Sun Sheng? Wuxia walked over, very surprised. What has happened to her? The Harm Star inquisitively asked. She was Maiden Mountain's #1 magic energy star general. How could she have fallen into this situation? It's as if she's been poisoned. Su Xing's tone was grave. This poison is somewhat strange. With the leisure star's capabilities, how could she possibly have been poisoned? Wuxia's eyes squinted, indifferently saying, "Your servant sees that it is probably goo poison." Goo poison? Su Xing drew in a breath of cold air. This was but the Vermilion Bird territory's most foul of demonic techniques. However, it is difficult for ordinary goo poison to have any sort of use on a star general. This is perhaps a star general's. Wuxia's tone showed a fluctuation. "I'm going to buy some medicine now to help her suppress it first." Su Xing saw that Gong Sun Sheng was increasingly in pain. He was not too reassured in his heart. "Xiao, help me take care of her." Saying that, he descended the stairs. Wuxia was somewhat puzzled over Su Xing's anxiousness. From her perspective, in Su Xing's capacity as a Star Master, this moment was an exceptionally good opportunity to kill Gong Sun Sheng and obtain her star energy. The #1 in magic power leisure star was a divine dragon whose head was visible, but tail was not. To kill her certainly was not that simple. "Gong Sun Sheng, your luck is pretty good," Wuxia said ponderously. The young girl in a haze seemingly responded, making Wuxia raise her brows. The Vermilion Bird territory was far from prosperous as the Azure Dragon territory. Everything was very impoverished, but it similarly had its own supply that always exceeded demand. This was medicine materials. The Vermilion Bird territory had boundless mountains in the 10,000s, continuous across several million li. Just this Mount Danxia's range was in excess of 800,000 li. Its surroundings were a ring of mountains, and among them, many had magic medicines flourishing. Due to Mount Danxia's complex terrain, to harvest everything was an impossible task. The only pity was that the mountain range here was continuous and of varying heights, where one mountain connected to another. The Azure Dragon territory once had the thought to invade and occupy these lands, but they had no choice but to give up. Thus, magic medicines were very developed in the Vermilion Bird territory. Just this Five-Color City alone had large and small shops numbering in the hundreds. The absolute majority of magic medicines could be purchased here, and sometimes, some supreme-grade magic medicines could be bought. The magic medicines for the evil smiting writs that star generals found could also be bought here. However, everything was excessively costly, and Su Xing did not want to squander. Spending approximately 100 million liang in value, Su Xing bought several magic medicines that could suppress the goo poison. But how could he have not seen anyone sell the last type of 1,000-year medicinal ginseng? Spectrum Sunrise Pharmacy. Su Xing looked at the last medicine store in Five Colors City. If he could not find it here, Gongsun Sheng perhaps would be somewhat troublesome. Could it be he actually needed to go to the mountains to harvest it? The store was very clean, with a concentrated medicinal fragrance. The floor was laid out with glazed tiles while white jade hung on the walls. In the cabinets, a dazzling lineup of some drug ingredients was displayed. "Dear customer, what would you like to buy?" The shopkeeper was an older woman, who smiled kindly. "I'd like 1,000-year medicinal ginseng?" Su Xing asked. 1,000-year medicinal ginseng? This item can prolong your life, nourish yin and supplement yang, especially the 1,000 years. This type of item certainly is hard to purchase. Su Xing impatiently said. "I want to buy it, so naturally I know. I don't want to hear your explanation. I only want to know where it is sold." The woman discerned Su Xing's anxiousness and was not angry. "This store does not have any. Maybe you could go take a look at other shops." Su Xing sighed somewhat in frustration, but he had no alternative. To use 1,000-year medicinal ginseng to make medicine, that was a powerful healing item. Even if it was being sold, it was easy to have it snatched completely away. Just when Su Xing was considering whether or not to exchange magic medicines, a voice suddenly came from the side. "Brother Su Xing." Su Xing turned his head and stared. He saw Fang Xianggu and that Zheng Yanran walk into the store. "You are all right?" Su Xing pulled the corner of his lips up. He saw that Fang Xianggu's complexion was not good, but he seemed unhurt, only somewhat weak. Furthermore, what was somewhat odd was that Fang Xianggu's originally pretty face was apparently even more pretty than before. His skin was white as snow, and perhaps even women would somewhat jealous. "Your servant is fine." Fang Xianggu smiled. The Zheng Yanran, whose white hair was like snow, looked Su Xing up and down in interest. She said, "You seem very worried? Did something happen?" Fang Xianggu also appeared very concerned. "This customer wants to buy 1,000-year medicinal ginseng." The woman replied, 1,000-year medicinal ginseng? Fang Xianggu said in astonishment. "This sort of thing certainly is very expensive. What is the matter, brother Su Xing? Why do you want this?" Su Xing did not want to speak about the matter of the poison Gongsun Sheng, so he downplayed his reply. "To be quite honest, my wife Xiao's body is somewhat frail, so I wanted to buy it to supplement her body." Somewhat frail. Fang Xianggu stared blankly. Suddenly he regained his composure and ambiguously smiled. "Brother Su Xing truly is bold and powerful. Things like the joys of the bed are better restrained, however. To have that sort of beautiful woman is normal." As it turned out, he thought that Su Xing and Wuxia frequently experiencing the joy of being husband and wife had left Wuxia debilitated. It was a pity Wuxia was not present, otherwise, it was unknown what sort of face she would make. The lady shopkeeper to the side clicked her tongue. That elder sister really would make men envious. Zheng Yanran laughed in jest. Su Xing was not inclined to explain. He saw that Zheng Yanran was somewhat not too normal. Just as he thought of taking his leave first, he suddenly heard Fang Xianggu say, "However, since this is a matter of the elder sister, Fang actually knows of a place where brother Su Xing perhaps can buy the 1,000-year medicinal ginseng." "Where?" Su Xing's tone was somewhat urgent. After Fang Xianggu purchased a few magic medicines and stepped out of the store, he said, "I shall bring brother Su Xing over, however, I cannot guarantee they definitely would have it." Having hope is always good. Su Xing smiled. Fang Xianggu brought Su Xing through several streets, appearing to be very knowledgeable. They arrived at a cabin whose outside appearance was simple and crude. Several guards blocked their way, and the language they spoke was not the most widespread official language, but the local demi-language. He did not expect Fang Xianggu would surprisingly give a fluent reply in demi-language. The guards nodded and let the group pass. "Has brother Xianggu come here before?" Su Xing asked. Fang Xianggu smiled. "It is embarrassing to speak of it, but your servant was born in the Vermilion Bird territory and has cultivated at Mount Danxia for more than a decade. No wonder. This demi-language certainly is very difficult to learn." Su Xing suddenly understood. Entering the house, there was a secret door. Entering that, there was an abnormally spacious main hall. The crowd inside was bustling and exceptionally lively. In the great hall was an elevated platform, where an old man with a white beard past the knees could be seen continuously peddling wares. Su Xing could be considered to have enjoyed this scene before in the Azure Dragon territory. It was an auction. Fong Xianggu explained. This place is 5 Color City's underground marketplace. Only those introduced by acquaintances can enter, and the items inside are all rare things. Let alone that the Vermilion Bird territory has vast numbers of stores. Supreme-grade magic medicines have strict restrictions. Things like the 1,000-year medicinal ginseng generally are not sold in stores. Brother Feng sure is versatile and able. Su Xing praised. Brother Su Xing only needs to linger around. Then you naturally will also understand. This does not count as any sort of talent. Fong Xianggu's extreme modesty gave others a good impression. Cousin, I wonder if that is being sold. Zheng Yanran covered her mouth, dully eyeing the platform. This auction was very large with many people as well, but the bidding was not very fierce. Su Xing looked around. There were many cultivators who came from the Azure Dragon territory, and not finding anyone from the 10 great sects made Su Xing feel relief. A majority wore the odd garb characteristic of the Vermilion Bird territory's demi-clans. Su Xing only knew the major points about the Vermilion Bird territory, but he did not know the finer details. With Gong Sunshin wounded, even something as minor as collecting the evil smiting writ was not that simple. It was necessary for him to think of a way to understand the powers of this place as soon as possible, especially star masters like that Lady Snake Scorpion and such. However, the Vermilion Bird territory's societal structure was somewhat complicated. This sort of thing was not a simple thing to clearly understand. Su Xing glanced at Fong Xianggu. Perhaps he should find time to ask him. Next is 800-year medicinal ginseng, 2 roots. The elder's clear voice pulled Su Xing back from his thoughts. He saw the old man take out a box lined with spiritual power. Inside the box were 2 roots of medicinal ginseng, wafting a medicinal aroma. Although these were only 800 years old, 2 roots could suffice as replacements. The 800-year ginseng appeared, and everyone present stirred. Very quickly, someone made the opening bid. The opening bids here were not gold at all. Instead, cultivators mostly brought a few things for a barter. Whoever's things in the end could come across as the most interesting were able to take the auctioned item, which was considered astute. 1 nebula high-grade artifact, 3 bottles of sweet scent pills. 2. You want to exchange these 2 things for an 800-year ginseng? 1 galaxy stage artifact. A male cultivator sneered. 10 bottles of miasma-dissolving pills, 3 10 bottles of poison-expelling clear heart pills. A female cultivator wearing beautiful red clothes began to bid. Big brother Su Xing, won't you call out a price? Zheng Yanran covered her mouth, her eyes brimming with cunning. Do not worry, observe first. Su Xing replied and calmed down. He paid attention to these cultivators, mentally converting the items of these people into an equivalent value in gold. Although the cultivators were in complete lack of demand for gold, it was acted as Liangshan's most common sort of currency in existence. The most basic system of values learning was carved into every star cultivators as a subject that was required to be learned. Su Xing more or less approximated, and from the things they called out, it was approximately 40 million liang gold. Su Xing's heart then had an idea, and he raised his hand shouting, 50 million liang gold. The originally warm audience was instantly in an uproar. Is this in money, or the converted value of his things? 50 million liang of gold? What use does gold have? Does he not know the rules? Everyone present whispered. From the perspective of star cultivators, the value of gold was not that great. 50 million liang was not essential, and all gazes vaguely glanced at Su Xing. When they saw it was an unfamiliar face from the Azure Dragon territory, they wanted to make fun of him, but they restrained themselves upon seeing that Su Xing's cultivation was galaxy stage. Does brother Su Xing not have any good items? Fong Xianggu was also surprised. Your servant has some things that can be exchanged. No need, I have my own plans. Su Xing smiled. 50 million liang of gold? Humph. 2 galaxy early-stage artifacts. A large man said, annoyed. He took out the artifacts, and Su Xing took a glance. The value was approximately 60 million liang. 70 million liang. Su Xing said calmly. The big man cursed. You brat, you must be doing this on purpose? Using gold to buy magic medicines? Are you brain dead? I will add a bottle of pills worth 5 million liang. 90 million liang. Su Xing did not hesitate at all. Fuck you. Everyone trembled. Even if the 80 million was in gold, this sort of value made them shocked regardless. Although the 800-year medicinal ginseng only bolstered qi, it was far from this much in value. And it was not 1,000-year medicinal ginseng. This was honestly inconceivable. The expressions of some cultivators that had wanted originally to tease him immediately changed. After all, a cultivator that could bring out this much money was a very rich man. Brother, do you have this much money? Fang Xian Gu gawked. In actuality, the Azure Dragon Territories auctions were all conducted with bid values in terms of gold, which was simpler. Just those pills and artifacts had values that were hard to assess, and at times there were mistakes, which would give many cultivators headaches. Su Xing affirmed, but did not say a word. Moneybag Chai Ling had given Su Xing 10 billion, 5, which was completely all in gold. There were practically several mountains of gold crammed into an astral bag, and what Su Xing currently lacked the least of was money. There certainly was no way that he could not exchange gold for a few precious things he wanted to buy. However, toys like the 1,000-year medicinal ginseng were only magic medicines, far from the level of artifacts and magic weapons that required exchanges. After Su Xing made a bid of 100 million, everyone was absolutely silent. Fuck it, I give up. The big man cursed dejectedly as he returned to his seat. Without any delay, Su Xing obtained the 800 years for the 1,000-year medicinal ginseng. Su Xing also observed the subsequent auction, and he never thought that an ice-kite Arctic jade would unexpectedly appear. Su Xing again named a bid, and he did not expect to surprisingly actually use 800 million to buy it. This made Su Xing greatly shocked. He felt as if he had come across a fool. Some people would exchange for pure gold, however. He was not that generous. Su Xing in the end spent another 100 million to buy a piece of snow spirit essence, as a gift for Fang Xian Gu, who was unable to purchase it. On one hand, it was a favor to build a connection, and on the other, it was unavoidable to slightly have the idea to become acquainted with one another. In the end, Su Xing had spent 1 billion liang in gold, which made everyone indignant. They had seen people with money, but they had never seen anyone with this much. The indistinct groaning gradually turned softer, and Gong Sunsheng's complexion was much better compared to before. Has it been resolved? Wuxia dully asked. Su Xing shook his head, a worried expression across his whole face. The medicine I concocted can only suppress the flare-ups of the goo poison in Gong Sunsheng's body. To have the medicine act as an antidote is impossible. If it was only poison, there was more to be said, but as it turned out, it was goo poison. Although Su Xing did not thoroughly understand this sort of demonic technique, he had heard news about it. It was said that a cure could only happen by ingesting the blood of the goo master. Actually, your servant has an even simpler idea. Wuxia smiled thoughtfully. What idea? Would it not be all right for you and this Gong Sunsheng to sign a Star Dual Covenant? A Star Dual Covenant allows for unexpected recoveries, and although your servant does not know what it will do for a Star General, perhaps it would be that bit of useful. Wuxia stared profoundly at Su Xing. That cold and elegant expression of hers, as well as the tone of her intent, brought a bewitchment more troublesome than the goo poison. That would need to wait until she wakes up, Su Xing bluntly said. Wuxia was taken aback. She snorted. You honestly do not hide one bit. What is there to hide? A matter like turning an enemy into a friend was without doubt better. Actually, I quite want to sign a contract with you, Xio. This man very shamelessly expressed his own desires. Wuxia curled the corner of her lip, her expression saying, You can have your grand dreams. But we had better first discuss this goo poison. Su Xing recovered his serious expression, feeling Gong Sun Sheng's pulse and aura. Although it had steadied, the result was apparently somewhat grave. Whatever goo poison it was had hid away in her body, and was consuming her star energy. If this went on sooner or later, Gong Sun Sheng would undoubtedly be consumed into a cripple. The leisure star is ranked 3rd, the strongest magic star general among you sisters? Seeing Wuxia nod her head, Su Xing continued. But unexpectedly, there isn't any room for resistance. Xio, don't you feel that this is a very big danger? Wuxia knew what Su Xing was alluding to. To be able to use goo poison to instantly dispatch the number 1 magic energy star general. That enemy was extremely dangerous any way it was put. The Harm Star Pilgrim did not deny Su Xing's worries. According to what your servant knows, those among the Maiden Mountain Sisters that use goo poison are very few. Those that could have such deterrent perhaps would be the ranked 34th double-headed serpent Xiezhen, and the ranked 35th twin-tailed scorpion Xiabao. 2. But for them to wound Gong Sun Sheng this heavily, perhaps they use some special trick to do so. Pausing, Wuxia said. Use the birth treasure outline to take a look, and then you will know. The birth treasure outline records everything related to the Maiden Mountain Sisters. Perhaps the origin of this goo poison can be found. Su Xing could only do as much when he thought about it. Flipping out the birth treasure outline, he aroused his star energy. The birth treasure outline immediately shone bright as light. The pages promptly flipped, stopping with a flutter. Writing like a reflection in the water slowly appeared. And Wuxia also curiously moved forward to come and see the bottom of the matter. The birth treasure outline very quickly revealed all of the current information on the Leisure Star Dragon in the clouds Gong Sun Sheng. Star position, Leisure Star star name, Gong Sun Sheng nickname, Dragon in the clouds true name. Rank, 4th star weapon, Pine Brand Ancient Sword, 2-star, Star Beast. Rank, Realm, 10,000 Techniques 7th stage innate skill. Clear Skies Wandering 3-5 Elements. Wood Yellow rank special skill. Cloud Wandering Azure Dragon turn current status. No contractor weakened poisoned can be conquered. Detailed materials. Bears the Heaven Earth Dark Yellow. 5 skills Snake and Scorpion Beauty's Kiss. 6 of the double-headed serpent Xiezhen, and the twin-tailed scorpion Xiabao. Extremely weak. Heaven Earth Dark Yellow skill. Su Xing looked at the material on the page, and could not help but stare blankly. So it turned out to be this. No wonder. Wuxia's tone was ice-cold and thin. Xio, just what is the meaning of this? Su Xing asked. Wuxia furrowed her brow. Heaven, Earth, Dark and Yellow are the layered styles of most star generals. Put another way, these types of styles each embody one of the star general's quintessentials in one move. The might is powerful, but to utilize Heaven, Earth, Dark, Yellow requires each star general to be interconnected in spirit, harmoniously reaching a realm. Let alone Gong Sun Sheng. Perhaps your servant would perish without doubt should your servant sustain this snake and scorpion beauty's kiss. This powerful? Su Xing was hoarse. Could it be you do not know even a bit? Past star duels had 2 star generals use their Heaven Earth Dark Yellow to dispose of even high grades of star generals. Wuxia apathetically said. A past star duel had a star master rely on 2 earthly stars using their Heaven Earth Dark Yellow to become overlord. Su Xing shook his head. Wu Xinjie actually had never raised this sort of subject with him before. But the stage to have a star general interconnected with each other in spirit is very difficult. They were rare as phoenix feathers in the previous 8th generation star duels. If it was not Xiezhen and Xiabao, it would be cause for surprise. Wuxia's tone was heavy. In the secret rumors of each of the star generals, the double-headed serpent Xiezhen and the twin-tailed scorpion Xiabao always were the most outstanding existences among the 108 star maidens. The reason was very simple. This pair of twin sisters were the sole existences among the star generals able to simultaneously sign 2 contracts with any star master. Their nature that had excellent heart also had mutual sensitivity. Comprehending their Heaven Earth Dark Yellow was not at all surprising, however. Their goo poisons were useless against contracted star generals. Star maidens could recover in the star nest, killing any snake or goo. But as far as star generals without a contract were concerned, perhaps even Wuxia would feel Xiezhen, and Xiebao were a snake and scorpion there were definitely not to be trifled with. Often, a moment of carelessness could leave no hope for a reprieve. Your servant never thought that after the conclusion of the second stage, they would comprehend the heaven-earth dark yellow. Wuxia coldly grinned, feeling this was interesting. So things are like this? Their blood is needed to cure Gongsun? Wuxia affirmed. Or killing them can break the goo. The harm star's smile was somewhat pensive. But to kill them is perhaps not that simple. For purely using their heaven-earth dark yellow to dispatch Gongsun is somewhat not too possible. It must be that they use some kind of exceptional intermediary. They should have an extraordinary star master in order to achieve this. And however, if they truly use some exceptional intermediary, perhaps there would be no way to recover by signing a contract. Wuxia sympathetically looked at Gongsun, regretfully saying, "Truly such a pity, the number one in magic energy dragon in the clouds being sent off in this sort of manner." The atmosphere turned silent. The lady snake scorpion? Suxing bounced out these 4 words. Your servant believes it should be her. Wuxia nodded. Suxing drew in a breath of cold air. Wuxia saw that things were apparently somewhat serious. She inquisitively asked, "What do you know about her?" This indeed is a star master defiant of the natural order. Suxing nodded. When he left the auction, Suxing specially turned to Fang Xiangu to understand the range of the powers of the Vermilion Bird territory, as well as the matter of Lady Snake Scorpion. The intelligence Suxing found greatly exceeded his expectations. Originally, in Suxing's understanding, star masters should be a generation younger to be talented. After all, they appeared after the star generals were born. Any way it was put, there could not possibly be too great a difference. But this Lady Snake Scorpion certainly was substantially different. She originally was Seedling Clan 7 specially cultivating the goo poison arts. This sort of goo poison art did not need the support of star energy. Selecting this path before the star generals were born, those in the Vermilion Bird territory were terrified at the mention of her goo poison. Often, she could not use star energy and be able to make star cultivators wish to die. She always asserted she wanted to contract the Xie twins that were number 1s in goo poison, the double-headed serpent and the twin-tailed scorpion. Consequently, the Vermilion Bird territory dubbed her Lady Snake Scorpion. What Suxing admired was this Lady Snake Scorpion's savage intelligence. Starting to promote herself before the star duels, so that she was known to everyone in the Vermilion Bird territory. The result after the star duels began was that signing the Xie twins was a matter only to be expected, that the star generals famous for goo poison would join hands with this Lady Snake Scorpion. This simply was nightmarish existence. Besides this, there was another point that made Suxing feel this Lady Snake Scorpion was abnormal, and that was her status. For the star masters Suxing encountered before, if they were not royal princesses, they were commandery princesses. But this Lady Snake Scorpion was actually great. She had the status of a married woman, and her husband's background was not small. He was the Falling Sky Great Sage Rock Demon King. 8. Rock Demon King? Falling Sky Great Sage? Wuxia was engrossed. It sounds like he apparently has some assets. If it was only having some assets, that would be fine. Suxing smiled. Perhaps Emperor Liang would find it hard to compare. Several 100,000 demi-clans could be found throughout the entire Vermilion Bird territory. Demi-kings were the chiefs of clans, but demon kings were a level higher, directly managing the demi-kings. The majority of demi-clans here could only survive by realigning to some mountain peak. Gradually this would form a major power. The Vermilion Bird territory used the 5 directions of east, west, south, north and middle to demarcate the 5 immense powers. They were divided into the East District Danxia, South District Falling Dragon, West District Silver Knight, North District Immeasurable as well as the scattered Center District Deer Pursuit. That year of the matter when the Vermilion Bird territory invaded the Azure Dragon territory, it was when 4 of the districts achieved mutual understanding that they moved. So it turned out to be this. This Lady Snake Scorpion actually is shrewd. Wuxia sneered. Utilizing star energy was the whole of a star master. Perfectly cultivating goo poison, if they added on her husband, the Rock Demon King. She honestly was the most powerful of the star masters Su Xing currently knew. Then what do you plan to do? Your servant sees that you had best give up on Gong Sun Sheng. That woman definitely will not leave things at that with you. Perhaps, sect members currently are already scouring everywhere for you. Wuxia truly was somewhat unable to see through Su Xing. If Su Xing actually wanted to sign a contract, he could forcefully sign one while Gong Sun Sheng was unconscious. Could it be that this guy planned to accept her entirely in body and mind? A phrase suddenly appeared in Wuxia's mind. At this time, Gong Sun Sheng had already awakened. Gong Sun Sheng did not show any panic, only staring steadily at Su Xing, as if she was a silent doll. The girl's figure leaned, and in the next second, she already sat upon Su Xing's shoulders. Her body weight was very light, like a weightless feather. She lowered her head to look at Su Xing, her eyes seemingly transmitting an unintelligible message. You saved me before. Me saving you this time is something that ought to be done. Su Xing smiled. Gong Sun Sheng blinked, silently pondering. What is your true name called? Su Xing curiously asked. Gong Sun Sheng seemingly was habitually silent, using her finger to gesture in the air. A formless airflow slowly took shape into 3 stream-like ancient-style characters. Gong Sun Huang. 9. Something has happened in the Vermilion Bird territory. Gong Sun Huang suddenly opened her mouth and spoke, her voice faintly discernible. What happened? The Vermilion Bird territory's birth treasure outline has been stolen by a little sister without a contractor. Gong Sun Huang tilted her head to the side. This is very normal. Wuxia did not feel this was odd at all. What star general is she? Su Xing sensitively asked. Gong Sun Huang blinked. The 104th little sister inferior star. The living goddess of lightning Wang Dinglu snatched away the birth treasure outline? When Wuxia heard this information, she felt this was simply unbelievable. Gong Sun Huang cocked her head to the other side, assuming a pondering posture. Seems to be her. That truly is incredible. Su Xing said in admiration. Previously, he had encountered Wang Dinglu the first time he plundered the heavenly spirit grade chests. At that time, Wang Dinglu's flash movement left Su Xing with a very deep impression. At that chest plunder, she easily stole the chest from under their noses. But this purple star grade birth treasure outline has to require refinement. How did she take it? Wuxia felt confused. Gong Sun Huang shook her head, expressing she did not know. There is probably some inside information within. Su Xing thought. He then asked Gong Sun Huang about the goo poison, and it was more or less the same as he thought. After Gong Sun Huang entered the Vermilion Bird territory, she found a ravine whose presence was odd, so she curiously stepped forth to investigate. By Gong Sun Huang's clear skies wandering ability, she naturally did not fear danger, but how could she have known that an array had been laid at that place? Before she could approach, she was discovered by the Xie twins and battled with them. Afterwards, only after she was struck with the Heaven-Earth Dark Yellow Skill Snake and Scorpion Beauty's Kiss, and a 1,000-year goo dragon poison did she flee. She never expected a crowd of winged demikin to launch a close pursuit. Originally, Gong Sun Huang had wanted to rely on the poison toad pool swamp to break away, but by curious coincidence, she encountered Su Xing, thus displaying the scene of the heavenly falling cloud dragon. So it turned out to be a 1,000-year goo poison. Wuxia nodded her head. If it was this, Gong Sun Sheng falling to this level was not surprising at all. 100-year goo poison was severe. 1,000-year was even more so, and a 10,000-year did not need thinking. If astral treasures were used as a comparison, 100 years were earthly fiend, 1,000 years were heavenly spirit, and 5,000-year would be purple star. As for 10,000-year, that would be a legend. For Gong Sun Sheng to run into a heavenly spirit grade astral treasure, would that not be a scene of her fleeing? This Lady Snake Scorpion is somewhat problematic as expected. Do you still plan to go find her? Wuxia glanced sideways at Su Xing. feeling that if he went to confront this poisonous scorpion with his current capabilities, that it would be foolhardy. Judging from the multiple falling stars in the Vermilion Bird territory, this lady snake scorpion simply was seizing the chance to execute star generals. Su Xing naturally knew the dangers, but heaven never barred anyone's way, let alone he would meet this lady snake scorpion sooner or later. I'm going out first for a while. Su Xing patted Gong Sun Huang, and the girl smartly descended from Su Xing's shoulders. Where are you going? Wuxia asked. To Falling Dragon Mountain. Su Xing was already gone, his voice vaguely audibly. South District Falling Dragon Mountain, with a range of hundreds upon 10,000s of li, ringed by linked mountains with boundless peaks. Near Falling Dragon Mountain, there was a valley with black clouds masking the sky. The medicine materials on the mountain for the 5 poisons were innumerable. With a domain of nearly 100,000 li, the 5 poisons mountain's poisonous insects were too many to mention, which was why it was called 5 Poisons Mountain. The Vermilion Bird territory's many 5 Poisons demi-clans all were fond of coming to this 5 Poisons Mountain to forage for medicine ingredients, but 10 years earlier, the Falling Sky Great Sage Rock Demon King suddenly lay an array at 5 Poisons Mountain, so that Lady Snake Scorpion could cultivate a Jade Alum Palace. Since then, the 100,000 li region of the 5 Poisons Mountain became a forbiddance, and this made many demi-clans and cultivators complain constantly. Fortunately, the outermost areas of 5 Poisons Mountain still acquiesced to demi-clans and cultivators coming to gather 5 Poisons medical materials, so afterwards, no one uttered a word. On this day an imperial canopy aromatic cart descended from the skies. The embroidered bags reflected brightly, dispersing the dense fog. The cart landed before the Jade Alum Palace, and an alluring beauty gracefully stepped off the cart. She hugged 2 little girls in each of her arms. Mother Highness, Little Chan wants to go play. Little Chan said. Go then. Lady Snake Scorpion slightly smiled. On this 5 Poisons Mountain, there was no need to worry about anything. Little Chan ran down the mountain in excitement. Little Diao. Little Diao shook her head. And the 4 tough and stocky demi-clansmen guarding the door deferentially half-knelt. Lady, the Great King has already waited a long time. Oh, this queen realizes. Lady Snake Scorpion ascended the palace. The Jade Alum Palace was constructed on one of 5 Poisons Mountain's peaks. Leading to a flight of stars was a stairway made from an intertwined scorpion and viper. Entering the centermost great hall, Lady Snake Scorpion saw a man tall and sturdy in stature. His appearance was magnificent, and beneath the surface he had a sort of dignity characteristic of earthly monarchs. He was draped in a crimson cape, and embroidered on the cape were 9 5-claws golden dragons. His underclothes were silver armor. Unlike silver or iron, it was unknown from what material it was constructed from. Although his attire was extremely arrogant, his breath was restrained and unrevealed, not angry but awe-inspiring. The Great King is quite refined. Lady Snake Scorpion smiled in full. Little Diao did not like this man at all, so she might as well escape into the star nest. This imposing and reserved man was the overlord and commander of a part of the Vermilion Bird territory, the sky-falling Great Sage Rock Demon King. Lady Snake Scorpion settled upon his chest and laughed provocatively. Why has the Great King come at this time? Did the Great King not make an appointment with Immeasurable Mountains founder Zhaohua 3 and Silver Night Mountains, Holy Mother Yongxing Queen Lady Yuchun 5, to discuss the matter of handling that Mount Danxia? The Rock Demon King was like a boulder and remained unmoved, his tone heavy as iron. That Mount Danxia has now collaborated with the Azure Dragon territory. It has been determined they are to be eliminated. However, that adulterous couple has grown accustomed to laying in their nest, and I-6 have come to take a look. How is that 10,000-year goo? Lord Husband truly is anxious. Lady Snake Scorpion rippled fully with charm, her skillful hands slowly stroking the Rock Demon King's body. Wife has cultivated that goo poison art from since wife was a child. I cannot endure any longer. Is this to cause me harm? The Rock Demon King was stern. Lady Snake Scorpion smiled and left the Rock Demon King's chest. Wife shall let Lord Husband see. She flourished her hand as she spoke, and an old mirror appeared in her hand. Inside the mirror was reflected the scene of a pitch-black cavern, and countless grotesque poisonous insects and beasts mingled inside. These poisonous creatures continuously killed each other, destroyed each other, with a demonic air that even the mirror seemed to shudder at. Not bad, not bad. This 10,000-year goo is a fearsome beast to destroy the world. The Rock Demon King exclaimed in admiration. It seems it is nearly there. It still requires several dozen days, and then it can emerge. At that time, the Vermilion Bird territory would entirely be the Great King's. Lady Snake Scorpion smiled. And this still is wife's contribution. With this 10,000-year goo, the star duels count as nothing. The Rock Demon King revealed a smiling expression. It seemed he recalled something, and the Rock Demon King's brow locked tight. Most recently, many cultivators, star cultivators, and star generals from the Azure Dragon territory have come. In the end, we must be careful. Although they say they have come to for the purpose of confronting the Purple Thunder monster, there is no guarantee they would not sense anything. Your wife has already foreseen today would happen. All of the 5 poisons mountains surrounding 10,000 li have been set up with layers of forbiddance mechanisms. With the Great King's several dozen demi-kings keeping watch, even a super-void cultivator would have no way to return. Lady Snake Scorpion coldly grinned. This is good. It is for the best the wife is thorough. Come, drink a cup with me, speak about the star duels. The Rock Demon King's mood was very good. Both evading and stopping, the time turned to several days before Su Xing finally arrived at a path towards the Vermilion Bird territory's so-called South District. The large mountains before him were continuous and towering, with many massive peaks of 1,000 zhang, of 10,000 zhang. Lifting his head to look at their tips, it seemed they had joined together with the blue dome of heaven. Serene mountain springs and streams, forests of pine and bamboo, with birdsong and the fragrance of flowers. The topography here was as if the Azure Dragon itself had lain down, crawling amongst the clouds, just as if it had yielded. This was Falling Dragon Mountain. Su Xing climbed halfway up a mountain, and saw in the distance a sharply contrasting mountain area. That black fog lingered, a polluting miasma with a demonic aura. Apparently, that was a muddled world. That place should be the oddity of 5 Poisons Mountain that Gong Sun Sheng sensed? Su Xing spoke to himself, escaping there on his riding sword. 5 Poisons Mountain looked seemingly very close, but getting there actually cost Su Xing approximately an hour. Turning past several hundred mountaintops, this 5 Poisons Mountain had circling mountains and winding valleys. Surrounding it was a layer of faint fog. Its swamps and poison ponds were innumerable, and a deeper point was sight of the countless black lights of an poison gas concealing the mountain cave. It only shot halfway into the sky before falling back down again, launched but never dispersed. It was a completely opaque substance. It seemed as if there was some sort of array. He had come to this Falling Dragon Mountain to look at the situation on one hand, and on the other, he wanted to forage for a few 5 Poisons materials. Lady Snake Scorpion's Jade Alum Palace was established within. A truly eccentric woman unexpectedly established her own palace within such a vile environment. It seemed every kind of the Lady Snake Scorpion's 5 poisons was actually here. However, this 5 Poisons Mountains range had several forbiddances. Those without tags would be killed without pardon, and only the surroundings could provide others with what to pick. Su Xing flipped his wrist, and a bag made from golden feathers appeared. This bag was easily severed from Demi-King Golden Wings during their original confrontation. The Demi-King naturally had many good things on his person: crystals and spirit jade, purple and normal gold, magic weapons and medicines, talismans and secret arts, all in abundance. However, the most useful item was the Demi-King token. The general information about Falling Dragon Mount recorded on the token was perhaps what Su Xing most lacked in. As far as using this Demi-King token at the 5 Poisons Mountain, misleading others with lies was an idea Su Xing actually did not have. Traveling on this road, Falling Dragon Mountain became caves by the thousands upon the 10,000s, all leaking baleful airs rushing into the 9 firmaments, ferocious among the mountains. Su Xing spotted many supercluster-grade demi-kings guide demi-soldiers in martial arts drills and array drills. These demi-soldiers were each odd. Some had 2 wings on their backs, some had dragon horns growing out their foreheads, and still others had tails like a snake or scorpion. There were also many elite demi-soldiers with distinct armor, glowing with amulets, flickering now and then. If these cultivators and soldiers did not cultivate magic energy, they cultivated martial force. Their quantities were immensely many, and all the way, their auras were in the several 10,000s. In addition to falling Dragon Mountain's surplus millions of demi-clansmen, the demi-soldiers numbered unbelievably many. The Su Xing who was watching was somewhat speechless. If he had this sort of power, the 10 great sects would be nothing more than a ball. Su Xing's heart schemed. This vermilion bird territory respected the strong, so would it not be better to get rid of the Rock Demon King to obtain falling Dragon Mountain? However, this sort of thinking was just a playful fantasy. This Rock Demon King's cultivation was above supercluster. Su Xing was not arrogant enough to be at the level of challenging supervoid cultivators. In the surrounds, Su Xing gathered many medicines of the 5 poisons, so he prepared to return. 5 Poisons Mountain lived up to its name, and all the medicinal materials that could be classified as poisonous were all here. Just the surroundings were inexhaustible. When Su Xing came, he saw many demi-clan cultivators gather medicines into gourds or place grasses into wicker baskets. These cultivators had no lack of galaxy grades. Su Xing inspected the periphery, dodging through 5 Poisons Mountain's surroundings. He had yet to get a good look at this black smoke and devil fog when he suddenly heard murderous shouts. "Where are you running to? I was discovered this quickly? This efficiency is too fierce, isn't it?" Su Xing was bewildered. "Little sister, play with elder sister." Su Xing followed the sounds. Immediately he saw a figure run towards him. Behind her was an innocent small girl currently giving chase, carrying the tone of hunting prey, while still declaring herself an elder sister. This scene was extremely hilarious. Suddenly, Su Xing was unable to laugh. He saw the girl's fingers pinch golden needles fine as hair. She raised her hand, and the needles were like fine rain, bearing the shadows of scorpions. Golden scorpion tail needles. Crying star twin-tailed scorpion xie bao. Wu Song, why would you be together with Su Xing? Leisure Star Gong Sun Huang blinked. Her obvious age seemed to very small, but she had a sort of exceedingly refined temperament, which made people feel great reverence for, where no one dared have contempt for her. Even Wuxia felt she herself was seemingly younger confronting her. "Su Xing, you are very familiar with him?" Wuxia's eyelids jumped, hearing from Gong Sun Huang's words hidden information. Gong Sun Huang did not speak, her expression fully directed at Wuxia's confusion. "Your servant and he have some business that must be settled," Wuxia calmly replied. Gong Sun Huang nodded, neither delighted nor upset. Suddenly, the girl's brow wrinkled, and she nearly collapsed onto the floor. "Gong Sun Huang, you certainly were not careful this time." Wuxia shook her head. She could discern that although Su Xing's power restricted Gong Sun Huang's goo poison, this was only stalling. If things went on as they were, Gong Sun Huang's star energy was almost completely devoured, and to recover would require a long time. In other words, in the evil smiting hall, Gong Sun Huang could be counted as changing direction towards withdrawing from the star duels. "You truly are fortunate the one you encountered was Su Xing." Wu Xio narrowed her eyes, spitting out a shocking sentence. "Are you thinking of signing a contract with him like this?" Gong Sun Huang seemingly pondered a moment, then shook her head. Wu Xio apathetically said, "Is it that you do not wish to sign a contract with him, or that you fear he will not sign a contract with you?" Gong Sun Huang blinked but did not answer. Seeing her so indifferent, Wu Xio no longer wanted to say anything more. She flipped out a map. On it were more or less some of the locations for the materials she needed to upgrade her star weapon. Among them, many could be found in the Vermilion Bird territory. Harm Star Wusong understood she had already lost Lin Chong in these star duels, and that she could only rely on herself now. The sole advantage of acting as a star general that did not sign contracts lay precisely in upgrading star weapons. Fortunately, refusing to sign a contract, she had abundant time to go ponder this matter. Lin Mei, even if you have signed a contract, your servant shall fulfill our promise. Wuxia muttered to herself. Gong Sun Huang sat on a square desk to the side, curiously looking Wuxia up and down, brimming with an expression that could not fathom the harm-star pilgrim. Several knocks from the door interrupted Wuxia's contemplation. Oh, excuse us, is young Lord Suxing there? Your servant comes on behalf of Holy Mother Qixia. 2. The crisp sound of a woman's voice came from outside the door. Holy Mother Qixia. Wuxia heard Suxing mention before that the one commanding the region around Mount Danxia was Holy Mother Qixia. However, it was very odd that this old woman would seek out Suxing to do something. Could it be this man fooled around with yet another woman? With a vague sense of unhappiness in her heart, she raised her hand, and the door opened on its own. 2 maidens in palace dresses of 7 colors with hair like rainbows appeared. What is your business? Wuxia did not rise at all, nor did she have the slightest appearance of etiquette. The 2 palace girls were stunned upon seeing Wuxia's cold and elegant manner. Seeing that Wuxia was unexpectedly galaxy late stage, the girl with a flower ring inserted into her hair deferentially bowed and said, May we ask what sort of person your majesty is to young Lord Suxing? Wuxia was silent. Seeing that Wuxia did not reply, the 2 women felt this was odd. A long time afterwards, Wuxia replied without changing her expression. Your servant is his wife. His matters can be spoken to your servant. The Gong Sun Huang inside the room blinked and slightly opened her mouth. The 2 women had already known and smiled. Young Lord Suxing is very lucky with women to have such a beautiful and stunning wife. Is young Lord Suxing not present? Why do you seek him? Wuxia was somewhat impatient. One girl passed over an invitation card. Holy Mother Qixia has arranged for a feast tomorrow night, and she invites young Lord Suxing and the madam to go attend. What relationship does he have with you? We have only come for but a few days. Wuxia wrinkled her brow. It seems young Lord Suxing has not informed madam. One of the girls smiled. Young Lord Suxing used 1 billion of pure gold to claim several goods. The Holy Mother has some things to mutually request. 1 billion gold? Wuxia grunted. Seeing the 2 girls had yet to leave, Wuxia wrinkled her brow. Is there something else? The women somewhat embarrassingly placed a porcelain bottle on the table. We hear madam has a deficiency from intercourse. This bottle of Fine Ladies Meridian Supplement Pills 3 is something Madam Holy Mother personally sent over to demonstrate sincerity, so that madam can restore her health. The 2 girls vaguely said, deficiency from intercourse. By the time Wuxia's shock passed and she came back to her sensed, the other party had already left. Does this man believe your servant does not dare kill him? Wuxia's silvery teeth tightly bit together. Unexpectedly, even deficiency from sex had emerged. The Gong Sun Huan to the side was seemingly expressionless, but her eyes had a slightly different meaning. Crying star twin-tailed scorpion Xie Chan's thin golden needles flew, like a drizzle of ox hair, disappearing into the air and reappearing. In an instant, a golden light abruptly tore over. Let alone that Xie Chan was a small girl, her body techniques were very unusual, dodging away in the blink of an eye. Cultivator, what are you doing interrupting me? Xie Chan puffed up her cheeks very unhappily. Many thanks to young lord for saving me. The panicking and doubting girl said in gratitude. He saw she wore a short corset, and golden light suddenly glinted through it. Her expression was weak, and her forehead had turned purple. Astonishingly, she had been poisoned. Suxing did not take notice of her. Immediately, he launched an attack against Xie Chan, seizing this chance to take this twin-tailed scorpion's goo poison cure for Gong Sun Huang in a burst of energy. 12 heaven-tearing swords promptly attacked. A dragon's cry boomed, chomping at the bit. The twin-tailed scorpion Xie Chan did not expect this cultivator would surprisingly fight without uttering a word. Seeing that imposing and fierce flying sword, her face turned white. Xie Chan spread her arms, and her life-cast star weapon golden scorpion fine rain needles linked together, becoming a scorpion. Ordinary artifacts simply were incapable of stopping the heaven-tearing sword's devastation. But the twin-tailed scorpion Xie Chan's destined star weapon was unknown grades higher than 9th stage. The fine needles flashed 3 stars, so it was surprisingly a 3-star star weapon. These thin needles became a rain that was like a downpour, all of which blocked the heaven-tearing's attack. Su Xing had long foreseen this, and his hand clenched the 1,000-year contract divine sword intertwined branch to immediately attack. Xie Chan was a poison expert, so she was practically incompetent in close quarters. How could she ever let Su Xing approach? Her right hand gestured, and 5 poison lights launched from her 5 fingers. Her left hand also did not hesitate, grasping the golden scorpion fine rain needles in preparation to fully use her yellow rank poison technique. Suddenly, she saw that man's hand shoot a purple dragon claw. Xie Chan's protective star tool immediately opened a barrier to obstruct this purple dragon claw. Su Xing closed his fist, raising the sky-breaking spear. The sky-breaking spear slammed against Xie Chan's barrier with a boom. This star weapon was specialized in breaking defensive magic weapons. Xie Chan tapped with her hand, and a sheet of golden scorpion fine rain needles pierced through the sky-breaking spear towards him. The golden needles carried golden poison, and Su Xing clearly sensed she was corroding his artifact. Su Xing remained expressionless. The 12 heaven tearings combined and immediately slashed. The star tool immediately shattered. Xie Chan's reactions could not compare to Su Xing's, and neither was she capable of martial force. This succession of close attacks by Su Xing already was the limit of what Xie Chan could defend against. Xie Chan originally used poison to handle generals in close quarters with great certainty, but she did not anticipate Su Xing's attacks to be this fierce. When Su Xing rushed to her front, Xie Chan screamed, "Elder sister, Mother Highness," a ripping sound. The 1,000-year contract brushed past Xie Chan's arms. Blood splattered, but Su Xing did not relent. His left hand formed a seal, and the 12 flying swords turned into a winding dragon. The golden light was colorful, tearing open the poison items and poison smoke. Xie Chan looked at Su Xing with her eyes wide, as if she wanted to firmly remember Su Xing. Her figure very quickly was executed by the flying swords. In an instant, Xie Chan disappeared before his eyes without a star fall. Evidently, she had entered the star nest. Su Xing's set of attacks could even be said to have gathered the essence of fighting with the whole body, swift to the limit. This was 5 Poisons Valley, the twin-tailed scorpion's domain. How could Su Xing dare be careless about anything? Acting on the spot was to be die in one move. However, even if it was like this, he had still allowed Xie Chan to damage the sky-breaking spear. The twin-tailed scorpion's might could be seen. The girl to the side was dumbstruck. That series of attacks just now practically passed in the blink of an eye, and she completely had not returned to her senses. Su Xing stored Xie Chan's blood away. Many. The girl still wanted to be grateful. Su Xing pulled her hand. Seemingly as if he had seen a ghost, he left only one word, "Flee." Did he not kill Xie Bao? The girl was extremely confused. Suddenly, she heard the Jade Alum Palace explode. Turning her head, her face immediately changed. They saw a man draped in a large red cape flap his 2 wings, rushing over. Not good. The Rock Demon King. In this instant, she finally could be considered as knowing why Su Xing was this nervous. With Xie Bao destroyed, clearly, this would rile Lady Snake Scorpion. And now her lord husband had come to take revenge. A loud boom. A ring suddenly was located above the pair's heads. Light fell like a downpour from the ring, and that ink-like fog suddenly swiftly stirred to trap the two. A magic circle. The girl who had just obtained hope again despaired. A tiny renegade dares to come behave atrociously before this king. The Rock Demon King's cold laugh was audible from several 10,000 li away. At this time the girl was thoroughly in despair. A supervoid cultivator had set out, so death was inevitable. Su Xing was too late to use the golden swords to break the array. He directly threw a territory-breaking talisman to break this magic weapon's script, and the two immediately ran out. Quickly halt, and this king shall spare you from death. The Rock Demon King sneered, seemingly even closer. Great Sage Falling Sky is of the Rock clan, we cannot outrun him. The girl shouted. The Rock Clan was the highest peak among the Vermilion Bird Territory's high-speed clans. Their speed was innate, and a pair of large rock golden wings could take them flying 10,000 li with a single flap. The escape techniques of star cultivators all could only gaze upon his back, and to use even a super void cultivation to handle a Rock Clan Demon King's chase, to kill was simply like coming to Mount Five Finger. Next to impossible to escape. Su Xing also understood this. From the Jade Alum Palace to here was a minimum of 70 to 80,000 li, however, in the blink of an eye, that voice was increasingly near, even arriving before them. What kind of speed was this? Their escape was simply indistinguishable from a snail. Behind them, a man draped in a red cape with wings several meters wide on his back appeared. A powerful pressure pushed enough to make the sky and earth heavy. Along the roads, maids, demi-soldiers and demi-kings all knelt. Su Xing tightly clenched the jade amulet, gritting his teeth. Suddenly he took up a flying sword and stabbed at his own stomach. Immediately, he was drenched in blood. "What are you doing?" The girl was alarmed. How could Su Xing have time to explain? The next second, the Rock Demon King arrived in front of them, as if a god had descended. "You wish to run in front of this king?" The Rock Demon King was godlike, his pressure squeezing from above, and his hand scratched towards them. "Go." Su Xing's divine intent moved. In the blink of an eye, they disappeared without a trace. The Rock Demon King was taken aback. He turned his head, and he saw that his quarry had suddenly escaped out close to 10,000 li. That speed was no inferior to his giant rock spreads its wings and flies. 5. What sort of escape technique was this strange? An amateur dares act before an expert. The Rock Demon King was furious, flapping his wings as he gave chase. "Here, this is for you." Tang Lianxin opened her palm. There were several glittering golden earrings. These golden earrings were forged using the leftover dragon scales from the heaven-tearing gold dragon. The earrings appeared with the marks of dragon scales, their rays of light resplendent. And Suan picked one up in pleasant surprise. "Little sister is so amazing." This astral tool was refined entirely by little sister? Tang Lianxin affirmed, without any expression on her face. "This astral tool can protect you once, so it does not have too great a use." She shook her head. Her manner still maintained a sort of antisocial feeling. Ever since Su Xing and Wuxia left for the Vermilion Bird Territory, Tang Lianxin did not visit the immortal's abode often at all. However, Wuxia nevertheless pestered her, discussing refining with her as she brought out a few materials to have Tang Lianxin forge self-protection astral tools. They never expected Tang Lianxin to actually put in the extra effort, for the 5 astral tool earrings were all exceptional. Has elder sister Lianxin not thought of signing a contract together with Su Xing? Shi Yuan and the others walked over. Seeing this earring, she handled it admiringly. They were always low on astral tools and astral treasures, and having plundered that many chests, only Lin Yingmei had been given an astral tool bodice. The thief star was thinking that if they recruited this astral tool refining solitary star, then Su Xing truly would be like a tiger that had grown wings. The other who had the same thinking was Wuxia. The knowledge star actually was not worried though, since the solitary star had even called Su Xing Big Brother. Anyways, signing a contract was something that would occur sooner or later. Taking advantage of this to persist with a few more words in her ear would be even more assured. "Tang Lianxin, there is a matter your servant wanted to ask you about." Ling Yingmei looked at the earring and was not impatient to wear it. Rather, she asked a question. "What matter?" Tang Lianxin's eyes were somewhat curious. Lin Yingmei was previously always taciturn. Very seldom would she question people. "Since you are capable of refining flying swords, then you should be clear on materials." Lin Yingmei stared at Tang Lianxin. The majestic star's words made Wuxia and the others have a sudden epiphany. "True. What materials?" Wuxia then listed each and every one of the materials to refine Su Xing's heavenly spirit earthly fiend purple star 5 elements sword for her to listen. The materials to refine the 5 elements sword were completely abnormal, and some were already extinct without any hint of a trace left. However, seeing the solitary star gold coin spotted leopard was a forging expert, It could be said for certain she could have some information. You let big brother Su Xing forge a flying sword so defiant of the natural order? Tang Lianxin's brows tightly wrinkled. She was astonished and confused. It was unknown how much time it would take to forge this sort of flying sword. This was simply a waste of time. Did you not forge the Golden Star sword? Tu Wuxinjie smiled. Tang Lianxin also thought so. She carefully pondered, then replied. Some of this I am not too clear on, but the Heavenly Gem Valley reportedly has the wood element swords, suppressing evil gem bamboo, and the Extreme Ice Holy Palace has the water elements, 10,000-year dark ice. 3. Only the Black Turtle Territory's Black Turtle Sea can produce the Genwu Divine Iron. 5. Of the Earth Element Sword. The Fire Element Sword's Heaven-Clinging Scissor Plumage. 6. Is already depleted. Perhaps it can be found in the White Tiger Territory. As far as the solar, lunar, astral and draconic swords, only during prehistoric eras did they appear. Although they had already prepared their hearts, hearing Tang Lianxin's words, they still could not help but be somewhat disappointed. It seemed that for the other 8 element swords to appear, it would not be easy. Elder sister Yan Yizhen has disappeared. Suddenly, Ansuan shouted in astonishment. Everyone returned to their senses, and discovered the maid was not in the Void Immortal's abode at all. It seems she has gone to find young lord. Wu Xinjie smiled. Yan Yizhen was loyal and devoted, and compared to the young master's consolation, she completely did not care for Wu Xiao's bet. Then what shall we do? No need. If we go, we might contrarily implicate young lord. Wu Xinjie shook her head. But are we just going to idly wait like this? Overall, this young lady feels she has lost to little E. Shi Yuan was not reconciled to stand by. Lin Yingmei twitched her lips, seemingly frustrated a bit as well. Listen to elder sister's words. We are not to bring young lord trouble, but Xinjie has an even better idea. Wu Xinjie smiled. Sister Xinjie, what idea do you have? Since we have dragon-scale astral tools, let us go helping Mei find the materials to advance her star weapon? Wu Xinjie said earnestly. Yingmei's star weapon has already fallen behind Wu Xiao's. Good. Your servant wonders how young master is faring? Lin Yingmei twisted her brow. 7. Be at ease. Let alone Wu Xiao is so resolute, Xinjie dares to make a guarantee. Should young lord truly fall into a crisis, she will not hesitate to intervene. Wu Xinjie's completely self-confident appearance made everyone somewhat unconvinced. Why does Sister Xinjie say this? She seems almost like she is very hateful of Big Brother for snatching elder sister Yingmei. Ansuan said. Could it be that she fears anything that befalls young lord could spread to elder sister Yingmei? That is a mystery known only to heaven, and it absolutely will not be leaked. The knowledge star winked and mysteriously smiled. Thus at this time Su Xing was overwhelmed with shock. To execute his chaotic tail escape, he needed to first be heavily wounded before he could float away, but this instant of floating took him several thousand li away in a moment's breath. To Su Xing's knowledge, he did not know of an escape technique in the Azure Dragon territory that could be faster than the chaotic tail escape. The chaotic tail escape used self-harm as a precondition, and whenever it reached the highest level of the 49th layer, using it would be very shocking. Su Xing already had the chaotic tail escape refined to the 48th layer, and with this one breath, he could flee 1,000 li. How could he have anticipated that the Rock Demon King's giant rock spreads its wings and flies, would be actually so abnormal to the extreme? Reportedly, it was practiced to the peak, and a flap was 100,000 li. Fortunately, this Rock Demon King was not at the apex, but a light flap of his wings took him more than 5,000 li. Even more fortunate was that the flap required several breaths' time. Otherwise, Su Xing's chaotic tail escape could not outrun him. This sort of speed perhaps would render using the Purple Star Jade Amulet too late. The Rock Demon King's cold laugh seemingly could be felt across 1,000 li, and the pressure never left Su Xing's body. His silhouette was extremely swift and on the move. Su Xing flew a distance of 3,000 li in the time of several blinks, and the result was that he still was being closely clung onto by the Rock Demon King. It seemed that wherever he flew, those golden wings would appear there. Such a frightening escape technique, Su Xing had never seen this before. Even if it was those super void cultivators of the Azure Dragon territory, this sort of speed was difficult to outrun. With 10 of Su Xing's breaths he already had flown out of Falling Dragon Mountain. The demi-kings and demi-soldiers of Falling Dragon Mountain had already been shaken off light years away. But he was unable to break away from this Rock Demon King's pursuit, and the cold laughter behind him was increasingly swift and fierce. The Azure Dragon territory's cultivators, unexpectedly having such a superb escape technique, had made the Rock Demon King feel disbelief. Let alone star cultivators, he had never before had a worthy rival in high speed within the Vermilion Bird territory. Seeing a galaxy early-stage cultivator unexpectedly capable of being so defiant of the natural order, the Rock Demon King's killing intent wildly bubbled forth. If he could not clearly figure out what was going on, how could the Rock Demon King be at ease? The Rock Demon King shook the wings on his back, and the two wings transformed, becoming an immense sky-concealing object. Wherever it passed, shadows covered, and these shadows were even faster than the Rock Demon King. In the blink of an eye, the shadow fell beneath Su Xing's legs. Su Xing was aghast, sensitively perceiving he seemingly had been slowed. This shadow was capable of trapping him. Gritting his teeth, he cut himself several times again, and his escape technique was even faster. The Rock Demon King had already fixated on the idea of killing Su Xing, and he also fully used his power. As far as he was concerned, this was rarely seen. It is the giant rock spreads its wings and flies 90,000 li. The girl screamed in terror. This Rock Demon King was genuinely angered. The so-called giant rock spreads its wings and flies 90,000 li was not at all an actual 90,000 li in one flap. Rather, it was an enemy-killing move used mid-flight. Those shadows were the Rock Demon King's immense divine intent. This divine intent was similar to a cage, following behind Su Xing and engulfing everything. If Su Xing were to stop for a moment, then he would roll into this shadow. Once he had been captured by the divine intent, no matter how much faster he was, he would be in the palm of the Rock Demon King's hand. It seemed the heavens had been seized, and for this reason was he called by others Great Sage Falling Sky. Hurry and think of a way to escape, Su Xing said as he fled, his face profusely sweating. Even with my speed, I can't break away from this Rock Demon King no matter what I do. Su Xing applied all the star energy in his body to his escape, and it still was of no use. The Rock Demon King's divine intent and cold laughter always followed close as a shadow. Su Xing used the chaotic tail escape nearly to the point he wished he was dead. That Rock Demon King still pursued relentlessly, unwilling to let go. The girl had no words to say. Su Xing did not have hopes that she would have any solutions. The opponent was a supervoid grade cultivator. This type of cultivator had the entire world at his disposal, far from comparison to a supercluster stage. Unless his star energy was stronger by tenfold, perhaps only then Su Xing could engage in battle. His mind pondered over countermeasures when he suddenly heard the sound of crashing tides below. Fuck. If this goes on, I can only fly out of the Vermilion Bird territory to think of a solution. I wish the Azure Dragon territory won't let him be unbridled. Su Xing bit his teeth. The Rock Demon King behind him was closer and closer. Those low sneers seemingly were right beside his ear, throwing his state of mind into confusion. Fortunately, Su Xing had practiced the absolute sincerity soul technique. His will was seemingly bathed, without the slightest bit of being destabilized. Otherwise, if he were to slow a bit, he would be seized by the Rock Demon King's divine intent. How could this king be at ease without taking you? Do you believe that you can live in harmony if you can flee to the Azure Dragon territory? Should this king's powers be put to use at full strength, even that Emperor Liang could not protect you if he were to come. The Rock Demon King laughed aloud, the sound seemingly right behind his ear, making Su Xing's entire body turn cold. Su Xing was not resigned to his fate. If he really were unable to go any further, with a shake of the miraculous Bodhi tree, he could then seize the chance to use the purple star jade pendant. It was just that with this, he actually would escape back to the Void Immortal's abode. Honestly, he would not have the face to see Lin Yingmei, Wu Xinjie and the others. Until the very final moment, Su Xing did not wish to concede defeat. And at this time, the lightning flash-like pursuit between the two shook the entire Vermilion Bird territory. Su Xing was too fast, where basically no one could see him clearly, but that Rock Demon King was not the same. His wings extended, his divine intent extended, and wherever they passed, it was like Mount Tai had rolled past. Fortunately, it was fleeting, otherwise a moment longer, and he would inevitably fall to the stage of tragic death. In an instant, everyone was discussing the matter of the Rock Demon King. Just now, that had to be Great Sage Falling Sky. Rock Demon King's giant rock spreads its wings and flies 90,000 li. Who could be this powerful, unexpectedly forcing Great Sage Falling Sky to use this ability? Could it be a cultivator from the Azure Dragon territory? All the whispers flashed past, boiling over 1,000 mountaintops. You monster! We are Star Masters, yet you dare chase to kill. Do you not fear the Liangshan maiden will find trouble with you? The girl on his chest let loose words of scolding. Su Xing could not help but wonder whether to laugh or cry when he heard this. At this moment, holding out hope for that faintly discernible maiden mountain really was too naive. Let this king see to what time you can persevere. The Rock Demon King laughed aloud, seemingly sensing Su Xing's weakness. Su Xing sighed. It seemed he could only go for broke. Unless it was the purple star jade pendant. The sole solution Su Xing could think of was to thoroughly self-mutilate himself. The higher the degree of injury for the chaotic tail escape, the faster the escape technique was. Although he was somewhat unreconciled, he could not be unreconciled after encountering the one who was but the overlord of a part of the Vermilion Bird territory. Just at the time Su Xing prepared to use it, suddenly, he heard an air-breaking sound boom over. Staring, it was unexpectedly a god-killing arrow, imposing as a dragon. I translate the name as Vermilion Bird from the start, and I shall continue to do the same with the Black Turtle territory. Right arrow curving left 5. Right arrow curving left 6. Right arrow curving left 7. Lin Yingmei would rather be with Su Xing than search for materials. Right arrow curving left 8. The girl is indeed a star master, I can confirm that much. Right arrow curving left 9. Here she comes again. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.